Hey guys, how are you all? Today we are back with another amazing Naruto story. What if Naruto gets Rias pregnant? If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comment. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. So let's start the story.
A red-haired boy with whisker on his face sighed for the nth time. He simply wanted to hang himself as he wept anime tears. Why oh god, why am I sitting beside this worthless chatterbox? Will it kill her to keep her mouth shut? I so did not want to know when her nephew peed on her again. Someone kill me or kill her. The source of his misfortune was none other than an elder woman who was constantly speaking to him. Without stopping, no matter how much he wanted he could not stop her, and air hostesses were trying to stay away as far away from them as possible no matter how much he gave them the puppy dog eye. Drat, why did I have to grow older? It worked wonders when I used to be young. Lamented the red-haired boy. I wished something interesting happened soon. A few hours later an almost catatonic boy cursed the heavens as he spoke. Why oh why, when I used for something interesting I did not mean something like this. It all started when he decided to help his next-door neighbor Ichiro Kusanagi to deliver an old rusted sacrificial knife to a woman by the name of Lucretia Zola, apparently an old flame of Grandpa Ichiro. As such, he had arrived in a remote village near the ancient capital of Aztec Empire known as Tenochtitlan. The red-haired boy looked around what seemed like some archaeological dig site. It had taken some time for him to reach this place. Language barrier was a bitch after all. Seeing an European woman, he approached her hoping at least she would be able to understand him. He approached a youthful-looking woman as he spoke. Yo, excuse me miss, but do you know any lady by the name of Lucretia Zola? The woman turned towards her as she spoke. Who is asking? The boy gave a smile as he spoke. Well, my name is Naruto Uzumaki and I was sent here by Lucretia Zola's acquaintance Ichiro Kusanagi. The woman smiled at that as she spoke. Well, my name is Lucretia Zola. Naruto deadpanned at that as he spoke. Sorry, seems like I have found the wrong Lucretia. Well, good day to you and goodbye. The woman giggled at that as she spoke. Well, how do you not know I am not the real deal, Ichiro's neighbor? Naruto turned around as he looked at her with a frown. Yeah right, you are too young to be Ichiro's old flame. The woman giggled at that as she spoke. Well, I assure you I am. But before anyone could speak anything, a roar resounded as people started running like headless chicken. The woman's smiling face turned into a scared one as a large serpentine-looking draconic beast emerged from the ground with feathers around it. The woman cursed as she spoke. Naruto, run, I will but you time, now go. Naruto's eyes widened as he decided to run only to stop seeing a person crushed by the beast. He let out a small sigh. Curse me and my bleeding hurt. He dropped his backpack and picked the only weapon he had in his person, a sacrificial knife. As he held it in his hand he felt a pulse of energy as the rust fell of it as it looked as if it was new. With this at least I will have something to at least protect myself and others. The knife suddenly released a pulse of magic, attracting the beast's attention as well as paralyzing Ryu. As it dashed towards a petrified Naruto, who looked helplessly at the beast coming towards only for him to be pushed to the side as he felt blood fall on his face, he looked with his eyes open wide at the greatly injured form of Lucretia. As he felt himself once again able to move he shouted out, "You old decrepit relic, I will skin you alive." Naruto jumped as a large magic circle appeared beneath his legs as he lunged towards the beast. As he made his way up towards the head of the beast, it flung its head sending Naruto flying. As he flailed his hands the beast opened its mouth swallowing him whole. Lucretia looked at Naruto helplessly as she spoke with a sigh. At least Ichiro would not be able to complain to me that I got his neighbor killed. After all, I will soon follow. As the beast lowered its head glaring at Lucretia, it suddenly let out a howl of agony as it vomited ichor before it fell on the ground with as it spasmed before something tore out of its chest as it stepped out of it. A grotesque figure, most of his hands and face looked as if it had suffered from third-degree burn. The figure made his way toward Lucretia, whose eyes had lost its shine as the life that clung to her was about to leave. The red-haired figure knelt before he kissed on her lips. Life seemed to return to Lucretia as the figure collapsed near her. Naruto opened his eyes as he glanced at the figure who was caressing his hair. As his vision cleared he saw a pink-haired girl caressing his head. It felt nice. He could not remember anyone doing it for him like ever. Naruto decided to enjoy it as he closed his eyes. It felt nice. A few minutes later the figure spoke with a smile on her face. As much as I would like to spoil you, the time is running out, son. At that Naruto opened his eyes as he sat up, drawing a pout from the girl as he spoke. Who are you? And where am I? As he looked around, all he could see was white emptiness. The girl gave a motherly smile as she spoke. I am your adopted mother Pandora, and the place we are is in between purgatory and land of the living. Naruto looked at her in a disbelieving tone. Yeah, right. Now enough of these joke. Now tell me who you really are, kid. Only for him to be slapped by a teary-eyed woman as she spoke. Naruto opened his eyes as he felt someone approached him. He opened his eyes and found himself in a tent. Such an odd dream. Welcome to the land of the living. A melodious voice came to him as he looked at that speaker groggily before his eyes widened as he spoke. Everything was real. Lucretia smiled at that as she spoke with a coy smile. Mama, do you mean the kiss you gave me, you hentai? The 12-years-old blushed crimson at that as steam appeared from his ears as he stammered out. I was trying to save you. The woman simply giggled as she spoke. Relax, I was joking, my king. With that, her voice turned serious as she addressed Naruto, causing Naruto to sigh hard at that as he spoke. So I was not dreaming. I really became this Campione thing, troublesome. Naruto then turned towards Lucretia as he spoke. Is there a way to make sure others do not know about this? Lucretia frowned as she spoke. Well, I suppose I can make sure your identity will not be revealed. I can erase others' memory of your identity, but unfortunately the many have already felt your crowning, especially the other Campione, but good for you, they do know nothing about you. Naruto visibly relaxed as Lucretia spoke curiously to him. My king, what is your age? Naruto. I am 12. Lucretia's eyes widened at that as she spoke. 12, which means you are the youngest Campione till date. After all, you managed to kill heretic god Quetzalcoatl, even if he was weakened considerable. As such, congratulations on being the 7th Campione. Naruto nodded dumbly at that as he let out a sigh as he spoke. I so wish something like that did not happen, and please call me Naruto, it feels weird if I am called king. Lucretia gave a kind smile as she spoke. Thank you, Naruto, for saving my life, but how bold of you to kiss me. Naruto once again turned redder than his hair as he spoke. I would take responsibility, his eyes burning with determination. Lucretia spoke with a teasing tone. Oh my, how bold of you, first you kissed me, then you want to claim me. Naruto clenched his hand as he spoke. I will never let my child grow with his father. Now it was turn for Lucretia to frown as she spoke. And why would I have your kid? Naruto. I kissed you, right now you will have my kid. Lucretia Zola looked at Naruto as if he had grown a second head as she decided to explain to him about birds and bees, and a few hours later Naruto had trouble being near a female. Lucretia. So what will you do now, kid? Naruto sighed as he spoke. Well, I do not know, but I have to learn about these authorities as well as learn a lot of skills now if what I know about my kind, or else I will be killed today. It was a fluke. Quote, at least you know you limit, but really getting eaten by God, at least you were not popped out. A male voice full of mirth came to their ears as Lucretia jumped up from her seat as her magic power flared, her hands outstretched towards the newcomer. Naruto sighed as he spoke. Did you really have to scare her, master? And for how long were you spying on us? The man in question simply laughed at that as he spoke. Well, since you were taking your beauty nap. Naruto pouted as Lucretia lowered her hand in greeting the newcomer. Greetings, Wizard Marshal Zelrech. If I may ask, why are you here? Zelrech. Lucretia Zola, I simply wanted to check on my apprentice. After all, he has a penchant for getting into trouble. Naruto spoke with a pout. I so do not get into trouble, old man. Zelrech simply nodded it as he spoke. Yes, you do not get into trouble, but someone who looked like you got into it. Budapest, right? Or what about Moscow? Oh, better still, what about Kyoto? As he spoke, Naruto suddenly found the floor to be interesting, extremely so. Zelrech. Well, it is time, so let us leave, Naruto. Naruto nodded before he waved towards Lucretia as he spoke. Well, it was nice meeting you, see you again someday. Lucretia nodded back nervously at Naruto as she spoke. Well, do not be stranger and visit me soon, I will be waiting. While her mind was moving in 1000 miles per second. Damn. The kid is a goner now. Oh well, so much for becoming the 7th Campione. What number of apprentice is he now, 389th or 388th? I wonder how long he would survive. 6 months, nah, maybe 7 months under his tutelage. A 15-year-old teen sighed as he looked at the building in front of him. Kogakuin stood in front of him. Really, the devils must be the flashiest bunch I have seen in the supernatural world. Look at me, look here I am, always screaming like that to an annoying degree. I need a drink. Maybe after all the shenanigans of today I will visit gates to hell. I hope Rodan has finished my order. I hate Amane now. Why do I have to come here again? Ah yes, devils creating problems for the Shinto pantheon, so keep an eye on them. It is strange how a Rakshasa Raja like me is friends with so many gods and goddesses. I hope my identity is not released after my fight against Varithranya and Melkart to some unwanted people. As he parked his $600,000 worth custom-made Akasi bike inside the gates, his atrociously handsome looks drew attention of both male and females. The females and even some males had hearts in their eyes, causing him to sigh. TCH, no matter where I go I have to deal with fangirls and fanboys. I hate them so much. I had so much fun back in the States with them. Oh, why did I come back? Naruto made his way to the student council room after asking for the direction from squealing and giggling waste of spaces. As he reached the door he knocked at the door. Come in, a feminine voice came from inside. As he went inside he was greeted with a sight of a bespectacled woman with short black haircut and bob style wearing female style uniform. The woman looked up towards him stoically, although there was a slight tint of red on her cheeks as she spoke. How may I help you? Naruto. Well, I am a new student here, so I need my schedule, Miss President. The woman in front of him nodded as she handed him a paper as she spoke. Here is your schedule. Since you are here, do you need anyone to escort you to your classroom? Naruto nodded at that as he spoke. I would love that. Student Council President turned to one of her subordinates as she spoke. Tsubaki, if you would. Another bespectacled woman with long straight black hair with split bangs spoke with a short bow towards the president. Hi Kaichu. With that she turned towards Naruto and spoke, please follow me. As Naruto left the student council room he spoke to Tsubaki, excuse me miss, but on our way to the classroom can you give a small tour of the academy while we get to my assigned classroom? I am new here and I have a tendency to get lost. The girl beside him nodded as she spoke, of course please call me Shinra Fuku Keicho if you would. Naruto smiled at that as he spoke, well of course. Soon enough the duo reached the classroom Naruto was assigned to. Tsubaki knocked the door as she entered, handing over a piece of paper to the teacher inside while Naruto stayed outside the room. He could clearly hear the teacher speaking from inside the room. Everyone, calm down, we are going to have a new foreign exchange student, please be helpful to him. As soon as she spoke the room broke into cacophony. Naruto could hear that a debate was going on inside whether it did be a cute boy or a handsome girl. TCH, annoying. Come in, a melodious voice came to his ears as he entered. The teacher's eyes widened as numerous emotions visible inside them. As she whispered lowly, Naruto, an event a few years ago flashed inside her mind. A rain night when Naruto had a fallout with their clan. They mocked him, berated him, but he never fought back until they went too far. Urza still scars from that day. That night when Naruto finally snapped and cut all ties with the clan. That night when he defeated 50 strong members of the clan. Defeat would be downplaying it. What occurred was an one-sided massacre. He was merciful and did not kill anyone. It took all 6 elders and the clan head and her husband to fight him to a standstill. Yet they could not defeat him. He left because of a phone call at that moment. It had been 3 years since then and no one had ever seen him since then. Naruto waved his hand in front of her face as he spoke. Hello teacher, is anything wrong? Urza was brought from her musing as she spoke. Please introduce yourself to other student. Naruto smiled as he spoke. My name is Naruto Schweinorg. I am 15 years old and I am from Germany. Nice to meet you all. As soon as he spoke the room once again erupted into insults and kayakia and whatnot. One of the girls suddenly raised her hand as she asked, excuse me, but are you single? Naruto gave a small smile as he spoke, yes I am single. Once again the girls shrieked loudly, causing his brow to twitch. Damn, their loud shout is hurting my sensitive ears. Urza shouted with growl, silent. You are all student hailing from respected families, not some horny mutts. She turned towards Naruto as she spoke stoically, well you can take seat beside Naruto. Please raise your hand, Naruto. Naruto nodded as he made his way to the seat. As he reached the place, Naruto had a forlorn look on her face as she gazed at Naruto, causing Naruto to sigh at that. Annoying, highly annoying. A few years ago if they were given a choice between treating me as their family and killing the every living being on earth, they would have chosen the latter with a smile on their face, and now they acting as if it is the end of the world. As the time crawled slowly, Naruto felt bored incredibly as everything and anything was already known to him. Being friend with a goddess of wisdom, Athena, had its perk as well as its downside. It was true he managed to get access to her personal library, but the knowledge that she shoved in his brain was enough for him not to crack open a book before he completed his PhD at the very least. He let out a yawn as he surveyed his surroundings. Well, there are a couple of devils in my classroom. The red-haired one, the Yamato Nadeshiko look-alike, are the strongest, but there are a couple more not worth mentioning. Finally, recess. Before anyone could say anything, Naruto was already outside the room. Naruto soon dashed out of the room in search of Naruto, but she found none. "Naruto, what are you doing?" A voice came to her ears. As she turned, she was greeted by her other brother Menma. "Naruto. I am searching for Naruto, he is here in my class." Hearing Naruto's name caused Menma to snarl as he clenched his hands in anger, while another boy with hair shaped like a duck spoke. "Ah, that doby, he still leaves. If it were my clan, he would have been killed at birth. A weakling like that does not have the right to leave, much less breathe the same air as elite like us." Naruto growled at anger. As he was about to lunge at the speaker, he was stopped by Menma, who spoke angrily. "Sister, today is a big day. We have a very important meeting to attend. We cannot waste our time fighting and wasting time on frivolous activities." Naruto growled as she left with a huff. Meanwhile, with Naruto, he found himself seating under a tree eating his bento. "Auntie Parvati's cooking is so heavenly. I can understand why Brother Ganesha looks so healthy. I cannot stop myself from eating more." Naruto looked at his bento with a sigh as tears threatened to spill from his eyes as he looked longingly at the bento box, which was big enough to feed a soccer team. His senses suddenly picked up petite white-haired girl with hairpins that looked like a cat, and as for the girl to Naruto, she looked like a kitten staring at him with eyes wide. Naruto smiled as he made his way to the girl as he patted her before giving her a chocolate. As Naruto's hand touched her head, she shivered with fear. "What is this feeling? This person is dangerous, I have to inform Bucko." As the girl dashed away, Naruto smirked as he shook his head. "Out of all the devils, only she was able to pick up a portion of my aura. I can understand why Sensei calls the current generation of devils pathetic." After the school had ended, a meeting was being held in the old part of the school building, commonly referred to as ORC building. The meeting was between one of the faction leaders of the three factions, namely the Devil faction. They were being represented by the Lucifer and Leviathan of the current generation, Sirsex Lucifer and Seraphal Leviathan. And on the other side were the Shinto faction led by Amaterasu. On her either side were her brothers Susanoo and Tsukuyomi. The atmosphere seemed tensed as behind the devil leader stood a silver-haired woman in maid outfit. All the other devil leaders stood beside her in a straight line. The situation was tense. Along with the two factions, another was present. They were known as the Hero Tribe faction, most importantly the Konoha branch of the Hero Tribe faction, whose current leader is none other than Senju Minato. Beside him were Hyuga Hiyashi and Uchiha Fugaku, with a small group standing behind them. A knock on the door brought their attention. The maid standing behind Sirsex gave a small bow as she went to open the door. A male voice appeared from the other side. "I am extremely sorry, I am new here and I kind of got lost. I hope I am not late." The maid eyed at him curiously as she spoke with a slight blush on her face. "No, in fact you are on time." As the person entered, Minato's eyes went wide, as did the few others who were standing behind, as the person gave a small smile to everyone, before he made his way towards the Shinto faction, taking a seat beside Susanoo, who gave a small smile which he returned with a nod, while Kaneko shook with fear, as the other females either blushed or eyed him like piece of meat. Sirsex. "Well, if I may inquire of you, Lady Amaterasu, why have you called for this meeting?" Amaterasu. "Lucifer, do you remember the terms and conditions that were laid on when you send your sisters to this city?" Sirsex spoke with a smile on his face as he spoke. "Of course, I have, Lady Amaterasu." Amaterasu then nodded at that as she spoke towards the Hero Tribe representative. "And what about you, Hero Tribe?" Minato gave an amicable smile as he spoke. "Of course, my lady." Amaterasu nodded with her eyes closed before she reopened them as they saw her eyes burning with fire as she spoke. "Then why have there been multiple infraction on your part of the deal?" Sirsex spoke in a confused tone upon hearing the accusation. "What do you mean, my lady?" Amaterasu. "Since your sisters have taken control of the city, 189 people have died till date, most if not all of them people who worship us. Such incompetence." Minato. "Please, my lady, I assure you we have been keeping this city and its citizens safe from harm by any dangerous supernatural beings, but we cannot be there to prevent some accident or natural deaths occurring every now and then." Tsukuyomi, who was sitting with his eyes closed during the entire thing, opened his eyes for the first time. The younger group of people were startled at sight that the older generation schooled their features without letting out a hint of emotions, because staring at them was complete darkness. If Amaterasu's eyes signified life and light, Tsukuyomi's eyes showed death and darkness, frightening many. Meanwhile, Naruto was casually sipping tea that was given to him as Tsukuyomi spoke once again. I see, it seems I have fallen behind times. I did not know that getting killed by stray devils and fallen angels are classified as accidents and natural deaths. At that, both the hero tribe and the devil faction leaders were dumbfounded as Tsukuyomi continued speaking. The abandoned church is currently the hideout of fallen angels who are not only killing people but raping, looting, doing whatever they wished to. And let us not speak about those stray of yours who broke into an orphanage, killing all the caretakers and the children there. What did you all do? He then turned towards both Sona and Rias as he spoke. Yes, you two heiresses, what did you do? Both the heiress caught like deer in headlight before Rias spoke. Well, I will be hunting the stray soon enough. We have received the orders recently, we will hunt the stray devils soon. Susanoo, and when did you get the order? And please do not attempt to lie, every competent person is capable of catching a lie. Rias fidgeted before she spoke. 2 weeks ago, and we were planning to kill her soon. Susanoo nodded as he spoke. I see, so all those person could be saved if you did your job properly, but you did not. Before he turned towards the hero tribe as he spoke. And what about you all, what did you do? Are you not always shouting around how you always work to save humanity from being taken advantage by supernatural beings, so what did you do? As the hero tribe representative fidgeted, Naruto added his 2 cents to the matter. Well, actually they did, they burned the entire place down to the ground. The entire newspaper is all about it. How the matron was a pedophile cannibal who burned the entire orphanage down for her sick, twisted pleasure. One of the persons standing at the back suddenly spoke in an higher than thou attitude. Lady Amaterasu, it was just an unnamed lady who died. Why are you getting worked up on such small matter? People like her die dime a dozen. As such, it is beneath you station to worry about a trash like that. Amaterasu looked incensed at that as she spoke angrily. What? How dare you slander my shrine maiden, and how dare you downplay her death? Her aura rising to the point that the younger generation of hero tribe as well as the devils were on their knees having difficulty breathing. The worst was the nameless person who looked as if he was about to wet himself as he shook with fear. Naruto gave a sigh and spoke. Amane, please calm down, I have already dealt with them. Amaterasu reined in her aura as she spoke curiously. What do you mean by that, Naruto? Naruto. Hitoshi Shido was the one who came up with the story for the cover-up. A few hours ago all the items needed for torture and burning of the orphanage was found inside his basement. By now the police have already arrested him, although a good few of them died when he tried to resist. And he blew himself up. He finished with a smirk. The man suddenly spoke as his hand shook with anger. How dare you, brat? How dare you frame and kill my brother? Naruto. My condolences then, but if I were you I would worry a teeny tiny bit because those things were purchased by him through the help of your family and most if not all the weapons are illegal. By now the police should have arrived at your place and might have come across something known as Human Ascension Project. The man turned visibly pale at that as Sirzex spoke curiously. What is this Human Ascension Project? The man spoke in a panicked tone. He is lying, and he is making everything up. Naruto gave a smirk as he spoke. Human Ascension Project is nothing but a means to create super soldiers. They kidnap children as young as 5 years and in some cases babies. Then they through magic, operations and various other things are raised as super soldiers who have no emotion or feelings and would obey their masters like a robot. Everyone was stunned on hearing that, as Tsukuyomi spoke in anger. Where is this facility of there? We should immediately go and rescue those children. Naruto. You do not have to worry about it, Vina and me have already dealt with them, but the lead scientist by the name of Orochimaru and one of the elders of Hero Tribe named Danzo had already escaped. I will tell you the details much later on as we have other matters to discuss. The man suddenly made a move as he rushed towards the window in order to escape only to fall on the ground upon being electrocuted by Susanoo as he spoke. Send him to Tamagahara, we have things to ask him. Naruto nodded as a magic circle appeared and before anyone could say anything the man disappeared as Amaterasu spoke. Now on to the matters of the fallen angel and the stray devils. You all have done a rather poor job of maintaining the city, as such it is within my right to throw you to leave. Rias suddenly spoke. You cannot do that. We won this city, you cannot steal from us. Sona nodded at that as she spoke. Yes, as Rias said, it would not look good for your faction's reputation if you try to steal from us. Menma, who was standing, decided to add 2 cents of his own. Listen, we have enough of this farce. We will not allow you to steal our city. Hero tribe will make you pay with your blood. As soon as they spoke those words, Naruto and Susanoo both started laughing hard at that as a brown-haired boy stepped forwards as a red gauntlet appeared on his hand as he spoke in a threatening manner. How dare you laugh at Bucko? Naruto. Oh, and what would you do, Sakuryute? At that everyone looked curiously as Minato spoke. How do you know he is the Sakuryute-san? Naruto sighed as he spoke. First of all, Minato Senju, please do not refer me as your son. Secondly, he has the same aura and smell as the previous, Sakuryute, although if I am right he has yet to awaken it fully. Sirzex looked at him curiously as he spoke. So were you the previous wielder's friend? Naruto shook his head as he spoke with mocking smirk. No, he came to kill me, but at the end of the day he fell by my hands. A pity Diedrich has yet to awaken. It was fun watching them squirm. His words sent chill down every devil's spine at that. Amaterasu shook her head as she spoke. Did you even bother to read the agreement? Then if please show me where we have sold you the city. Please show me. The city was given to you all on lease under certain conditions, something that I deeply regret now. Seraphald turned towards her sister as she spoke. We gave you all copies of the agreement as well as rules and regulations you have to follow. Did you not bother to read them at all? The sisters of the 2 Satans found the floor interesting, as Seraphald spoke with a sigh at that. I am terribly sorry for such an incident. I know after we have breached the contract it is within your right to make us leave, but please I urge you to reconsider, and I promise you that the next time such mistakes will not happen, and we are ready to offer any form of compensation for it. Naruto sighed inwardly. Here it comes now. Negotiating with a god is worse than that of a devil. And caring for people, please only a handful of gods do so. Must only pay attention only if the humans do something extraordinary, otherwise humans are akin to ants to them. Well, except Greeks who only think with their lower halves. Naruto was bored to death. The negotiation took a long time. It was boring, and judging from the faces of all the other younger devils or younger hero tribe members, they too were bored. Except a few who were looking at him like a hawk, some with anger, some had, and others with longing. That's something new. Oh well, not his problem. Fugaku. Well, I am happy we managed to reach an agreement, my lady. Amaterasu nodded at that as Minato spoke. Well, we will immediately send people after the stray devil. Naruto spoke, trying to stay awake during the boring meeting. Well, there is no need for that, after all I have personally dealt with her. A magical circle appeared as naked torso dropped. The person seemed to be on her last legs, clinging to her flicker of her life, as Naruto opened his mouth to speak, but was stopped from one of the outburst from the devil side. Opai. Opai. Naked op. He could not finish his sentence as he doubled over after being elbowed by the petite white-haired, causing him to kneel over in pain. Naruto had a small nostalgic smile on his face, just like Ero Sennin, just focused on the boobs, living out any other important stuff, before he shook his head as he spoke. Well, as I was about to say, I dealt with stray devil Visor. Amaterasu. I see, so she was the one who killed the people from the orphanage. Naruto nodded as he spoke. Yes. But more importantly, the caretakers. As for the children, we have already rescued them, whom she helped to kidnap. Amaterasu nodded before she burned her to ash. As she spoke, Minato, I do not care how you align with, as long as you do not forget that I allowed your forefathers to settle here because I wanted them to protect normal powerless civilians. I have no problem with that. Minato nodded as he spoke. Yes, Lady Amaterasu. Amaterasu nodded at that before she spoke. Well, it is time to leave. Naruto, will you be staying with us? Naruto nodded at that as he spoke. If you would not mind, I would love to, because I have nowhere to stay. My house will not be ready until tomorrow afternoon. As they stood, Naruto spoke. Well, even if I am the overseer, I hope you do not treat me as a stranger. After all, it will be our home for the foreseeable future, and if you have any problem, my doors will always be open to you. No matter the time of the day, do not hesitate to approach me for help. But at the same time, I will not tolerate any form of tomfoolery that existed here before my arrival. I wish you all a good day. Minato suddenly spoke, a small hint of desperation in his voice. You can stay with us, Naruto, you mo. Naruto interrupted his speech as he spoke. Sorry, but I have arrived back home after so many years. I would prefer to spend some time with my acquaintances and family. Susanoo. Well, then it is time to leave. Minato. Plea. Before he could speak anymore, the room shined loudly as the deities along with Naruto disappeared. Sirzex then turned towards Minato as he spoke. Minato, do you know this Naruto person? Fugaku gave a comforting squeeze on his shoulder as he spoke with a nod. Naruto is my youngest child. Because of me and my wife's foolish actions, he no longer considers us his family. Seraphal, who had a serious look on her face, after all the agreement did not go much in their favor, spoke in serious manner. Minato, how strong is he? Saji abruptly spoke before Minato could reply. He is younger than us, so he should not be stronger than us. Menma seconded that with a condescending smirk. Exactly, he is nothing more than a weakling. Urza. Menma, shut up. Minato chucked at that as he spoke. Naruto left our clan almost 3 years ago. The day he left, he defeated 50 strong members of our clan, including Urza, whom Menma has yet to defeat. He then fought against me and my wife along with 4 other elders to a draw, and he was only 12 at that time, causing everyone's eyes to widen except the newly reincarnated devils, as Minato Senju and Kushina Senju ne Uzumaki were a power couple having strength to go toe-to-toe against even the Satans or Archangel to fight them to a draw at the tender age of 12 speaks volumes about him. Kaneko. He is dangerous. A small hint of fear could be detected by the veterans present there. As all the eyes feel on her, Hiyashi spoke. And why is that so, young devil? Kaneko spoke with a shudder. I found him resting under a tree when I was passing by. He let out his aura, it felt like divine, like those gods. Graphia spoke with a frown. Are you sure, Kaneko-sama? Seraphal. Is there something the matter, Graphia? Graphia. Seraphal-sama, during the entire meeting he was one of the people whose aura I could not detect. Even a newborn human has some presence. But when I tried to detect him, it was like he was not even here at all. He did not have any presence. Sirzex frowned at that as he spoke. That is troubling indeed. Rias and Sona, I tried to keep a friendly relationship with them, and Rias, I have something to tell you, so please stay back. Meanwhile, back in Takamagahara, Naruto sighed tiredly as he lounged on a sofa as Amaterasu spoke with a smirk. Oh my. Someone finally managed to tire out the stamina monster. Naruto gave a weak chuckle at that as Susanoo spoke with a frown. You are injured. At that, both Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi frowned. Naruto. I had a bout with Indra. He wanted me to become his subordinate and I refused. But damn, his lightning is nothing to scoff at. Lord Shiva intervened and rest is history. I will be fine, I just need to rest. Tsukuyomi. So how much do you remember now, Naruto? Naruto gave a sad smile as he spoke. All of it. All of it, those betrayals and all, I remember all of it. Susanoo sighed as he spoke. They all have reincarnated, Naruto, so have you. Naruto nodded at that as he spoke. Yes, so have they. But alas, they all are different from the people of elemental nations. More importantly, the nations no longer exists because of them. Amaterasu. So true, and it all began with your betrayal. Those who you thought friends turned their back on you, and when they arrived they fell like flies. Naruto nodded at that as he spoke. So true, but do you know the best part? My enemies were the one who showed me compassion, who showed me kindness more than a few. They made my life bearable before I took my last breath. Tsukuyomi. They then went to avenge you after your death. Naruto had a dumbstruck look on his face as he spoke. Seriously? I cannot believe you. But upon seeing the serious look on his face, he broke into a fit of laughter as tears formed in his eyes. Amaterasu. So what will you do about your betrayers? Naruto controlled his laughter as he spoke. Nothing. Now it was time for the Shinto Trinity to frown at that as Susanoo spoke heatedly at that. You have every right to take your revenge on them. Naruto had a kind smile on his face as he spoke. I know, but those people who have wronged me are already dead. Why would I waste my time on people who are no longer there? Take for example Jiraiya. The Jiraiya of my previous life was someone who cared me like I am his grandchild, someone who loved me, cared for me and gave his life with a smile for me. But this Jiraiya of the hero tribe is a pale imitation of the man I respected. He is a mockery of the person I cherished during my previous life. As is it for others including me, we all are starting from a blank slate, and any debt incurred will only for this life only. The trio of deities had a small smile on their faces. Even if Naruto may claim that he is different, he is the same kind-hearted gentle boy who only knows how to love. Next day Naruto made his way to his school. No, not school but a jail according to him. He will have to spend so much time getting bored because of the boring lectures and whatnot. He sighed hard at that. As he went past the gate he was greeted by Sona Sitri, or as she is known in the human world as Suna Shitori. Sona. Good morning Schweinorg-san. Naruto smiled as he spoke, good morning but please call me Naruto, Schweinorg makes me feel old, Shitori-san. Sona nodded at that as she spoke, well I will call you that if you call me Suna then. Naruto. Very well Suna-san, how may I help you? Sona. Have you decided to join any club? It is kind of mandatory for everyone. Naruto. Actually no, I was planning on learning about various clubs before making a decision, though I hope there is not time restraint in that? Sona shook her head as she spoke, no there is not, but I hope you will find yourself a suitable club by the end of the month, if not the student council is always welcome for you. As they shared small talk Naruto's sharp eyes caught various sound ranging from Kyakia and UFU to bastard and gaijin and whatnot. He shook his head as he followed after her. The boring school day went on without a hitch except Naruto, who was staring at him without blinking, causing great discomfort to him, not to mention Urza was paying more attention to him than others. Naruto took a deep breath as he counted sheep, mentally trying to calm him down. The best part of the day was when he met Issei and his group of friends peeping on the girls, most importantly girls who were in the kendo club wielding bakken. Naruto cracked a grin at that. It seems as if he is the living legacy of Ero Sennin. Maybe I should get him the same special treatment I gave to Ero Sennin from time to time. Naruto just lazily moved his finger as the shoelaces of the trio got undone before it got tied to each other. Oh, it will be so funny. He jumped up on top of a nearby tree trunk as he used spell to make him invisible before shrieking out at a feminine voice, perverts. That jolted the trio from their spot, but unfortunately for them they tripped and fell on the ground as they tried to stand. A feminine voice came to their ears, my. It seems someone did not learn their lesson. As the trio turned their head, they turned paler than certain snake summoner as the one named Matsuda stammered out, please, mercy. Girls get him. With that they began beating the trio as a cackling redhead left the scene. As he was bit further away from them he was greeted by Rias and Akano, the Oni-samas of the school. Akano smiled at him as she spoke, Era, seems like we have a prankster in our midst. Rias was not happy as she spoke, as much as your prank was nice, I would appreciate it if you would not harm my cute little pawn. Naruto. Harm him? What are talking about? Just look at him and see where he was harmed. As Rias and Akano looked at Issei's direction they saw him walking with his friends as if nothing had happened. The only evidence of his thrashing was the dirt on his clothes. As Naruto continued speaking with a smile, Gremory-san, perverts like him are highly resilient, especially when they are beaten by females after they had just peeped. Akano spoke with a slight blush. The idea of someone getting beaten was arousing to her as she spoke, so you hate perverts? Naruto shook his head as he spoke, one of the people I respected was a self-proclaimed super pervert, and I would be hypocrite if I hate perverts. But any one of them could say anything. A large shout drew everyone's attention. Naruto, I challenge you to a kendo duel. The shout was loud enough to draw attention of everyone nearby as Naruto spoke with a tired sigh. I decline, I have better thing to do than waste my time on you. Menma snarled at that as he spoke, do what you pathetic loser, you bloody coward afraid of being defeated. Naruto snorted at that as he spoke, defeated by Homyu? Damn, are trying to be a comedian because your jokes are hilarious. Menem growled as he spoke, how dare you? Why don't you just go to a ditch and die like you were supposed to? Naruto smirked at him as he spoke, it seems you have very bad eyesight. Last I checked I am a living breathing human being, not a mirror. A condescending voice came to his ear, Dobi, the Dobi is right. You trash do not have the right to stand in front of elites like us. Naruto did not pay attention to the person making him enraged at that as he spoke, are you deaf Dobi? When an elite speaks you are supposed to listen. Naruto took a page from previous lives Kakashi as he spoke, you say something. Only to receive an enraged shout from him in return. Both Rias and Akano stood trying hard not to laugh, but was proving to be incredibly difficult. Naruto sighed at that. Sometimes people only listen when they get thrashed. Oh well, if that is what they want they will receive in spades. Naruto. Well then, what do you two stooges wish to challenge me? Menma. I heard how you beat those weaklings in sword fight. I want to return the favor by showing you your place, you piece of trash. Naruto shook his head as he followed them to Kendo Club room. By then the words of the duel had spread around the whole school. The two kings of Kuo teaching some wannabe swordsman how to hold a sword. As he looked at the crowd he was greeted by many familiar faces: Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba, Hinata, Shino, Ino, Neji, Ten, Lee, and last but not the least the pink band. I mean Sakura. Yup. Sakura were present. Some of them cheered the duo, especially a certain pink thing with her screech "damn my ears" heart. When he looked at Sakura he felt sadness well up in her. How a certain duck butt used her till her last breath, manipulating his most loyal and fanatical fangirl. Such a sad plight, oh well. Menma and Sasuke glared at each other as Naruto sighed at that. I believe I did not come here to watch you two glaring at each other. Sasuke spoke with a smirk. So who do you want to get your medicine from, Dobi? Naruto once again pretended not to hear him, causing Menma to laugh at that as he spoke. Seems like he is smart enough to know who the real deal is. Causing Sasuke to growl loudly. Naruto sighed again. I seem to be sighing a lot nowadays. Well, how about I give you a handicap and allow you both to team up with each other? At that the surrounding people gasped while Menma howled in laughter as he spoke. Ha 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 ha. Mama, you can joke. I can beat people thrice my age and size easily, and you want to fight against the two of us? This is hilarious. Many others joined in throwing insults at Naruto, who simply shook his head as he spoke with a completely bored look in his face. Can we start anytime soon, or are you waiting for me to die of old age, you two waste of space? At that the duo got enraged as they charged at him with Bakken in their hands. To others it seemed as if he was incredibly fast, but to Naruto, so slow, so boring. He tilted his head, allowing the Bakken to pass as he gracefully dodged another sword slash before he hit them hard. As they were pushed back from a single swing as Naruto spoke. I believe it is point. If it were a real sword fight you two would have been bisected into half. Sasuke. It is a fluke. Abandoned child like you without talent can never measure up to an elite like me. Naruto laughed as he spoke. Elite in what? Having a duck butt on your head? Or the ability to spout bullshit while being delusional? Well then, yes, you truly are an elite. I admit my defeat. Sasuke trembled with rage as he was about to charge. He was held back by Menma, who spoke. Stop it, he is using your anger against you. Calm down. We will use pattern C and defeat him. Sasuke took a deep breath before he and Menma charged up, trying to flank him. A few minutes later Naruto spoke in a bored manner. That is 20 points in my favor while yours is 0. Do you wish to continue getting thrashed by me? The place around them was silent. The duo, the number one swordman of their school, was getting thrashed by a newbie like some snot-nosed children fighting an adult. As the duo laid on the ground groaning from pain, Naruto sighed as he spoke. I am bored already, I am leaving. With that he threw the Bakken from his hand as he started walking towards the door, while the crowd parted to give him space. His enhanced hearing picked a few things as he shivered from them. Damn fanboys and girls. Cue shudder. As he was about to leave everyone gasped as Menma tried to heat him from behind with his Bakken raised. His face morphed into sick twisted glee, only to stop as he received a glare from Naruto. His cerulean blue eyes had morphed into red slit as an insane killing intent poured on him, causing him to stop breathing. Suddenly he found himself face to face with a humongous grayish-colored being with one large red-colored rippled eye. Calm down, Kagaya, was what he heard before Menma collapsed on his bum, shaking like a newborn calf, as Naruto left the scene. The entire day went off without a hitch, well as it would go when you have fangirls lurking and stalking you. Naruto let out a tired sigh as he stood in front of his newly created house, as his brow twitched. Damn you, Benton Nay. Why did you prepare a mansion for me? An apartment would have been sufficient. Naruto looked at the high wall made up of solid granite at least 10 feet tall with tiles placed on top of it, but in between the tiles were spikes to stop any thieves or unwanted trespasser. The richly decorated gate stood in between him and the rest of the mansion. It had a gorgeous look, having been painted with black and gold paints, with 2 golden lion head carved on it, but unfortunately the gate did not allow for an inner view. Naruto opened the big wide gate, large enough for truck to enter. He was greeted with a sight of flower garden. It smelled heavenly. There were benches and chairs for people to sit. The road leading to the mansion took a roundabout turn as it met the road again, and in between the roundabout was marvelous looking fountain. The road branched onto 2 directions and ended to what looked like garages on either side. The more Naruto explored, the more he was astonished at what he saw. Wow, just wow, whoever created is otherworldly. Such a nice fusion between ancient Oriental and modern Western architecture is amazing. I like it. No, I love it. This place feels so peaceful and close to nature. The small river running inside the house along with that mini waterfall separating the inner and outer sanctum, and is that fish in it? It is so cool, not to mention the pool at the back, and is that a hot spring? Damn, it has a helipad along with, and not to mention the basement, containing a wine cellar, storage room. Then underneath it is the armory, and even underneath is the training space. I love it so much. But who in the right mind would create such a big house for one person? It would be such a chore to clean. With that, Naruto dropped on his knees because of depression. I might be able to clean them with my abilities, but it is such a chore. As anime-style water began to fall from his eyes, only for him to have an eureka moment. What an imbecile I am, I can use runes and fuinjutsu. With that, he dashed towards the center of the mansion, which was actually a hallway. He stood there as he spoke in a monotone. Restriction level reduced from 10 to 8. Senjutsu collection OK. Energy mixing OK. Activating, Grand Archive, accessing, Creator mode. As soon as the word left his mouth, his body shone as large number of fuinjutsu and runes appeared all over his body. Then all of a sudden large magic circles surrounded him as a holographic screen along with a keyboard with words ranging from kanji to Sanskrit and many other obscure languages like Devanagari appeared in front of him. He quickly began typing on them as a mixture between talisman from Shinto, runes from Celtic, Nordic and many other pantheons. Tantric scriptures all mixed together with fuinjutsu at its base began to form. This was the fruit of Naruto's research. He had managed to combine everything close related to runes or fuinjutsu irrespective the method, language or the godly energies required to create it. The creation of what he called the script was his greatest creation till date, as no other being without the express knowledge of all those types of magic or chakra abilities could create something like that. Soon the words spread across the entire mansion, covering the entire place, as Naruto formed a ram seal as he spoke. Seal. The words glowed before it vanished to many others. It may seem nothing, but Naruto knew that an invisible barrier had been erected around him. A barrier strong enough so that it could take on dozens of Jubi Bijudama without a scratch. Then there was detection, capture and many more, but most importantly it had the ability to clean the house without him lifting a finger. Now, what should I do? Oh right, I forgot, they will be waiting for me back in a hotel. I will tell them to move in and start unpacking the stuff. Yup, but first I need a shower. That day during as the sun set, a group of people made their way towards a particular mansion as one of them spoke. Are you sure this is the correct address? The other person spoke with a nod. I am positive it is. I took the address from the school registry. But to think he lives inside such a lavish space is nothing short of amazing. How did he manage to earn so much money? Who knows what he has been doing all these years? Urza, be a dear and knock on the door. Urza nodded as she pressed the intercom button. Soon a female voice came from the other side. Hello, this is Schweinorg residence and how may I help you? Urza. Is this Naruto Schweinorg's home? May we speak to him? The other side spoke in a monotone. Yes, this is his home, and may I inquire why you need to meet with him? Urza. It is Hero Tribe business. As soon as she spoke, the door swung open as they were greeted with a sight of the most beautiful sight they had seen. As one of them spoke, the brat knows how to spend money. Naruto was training underground when one of the homunculus maids approached him. Yes, Sella, something the matter? Sella. A group of Hero Tribe members have arrived to meet you. Naruto nodded as he spoke. Make them comfortable, tell them I was training and I will join them soon. As Sella left Naruto's side, he knew exactly who had arrived because of his scripts. It seems that I had to face them again, what a drag. The group was sitting at the living room comfortably as they spoke amongst themselves. Soon enough Naruto arrived. As he checked at the guests, his eyes landed amongst a particular red-headed woman. You are disgrace to our name. Why can't you be better than them? Why did I give birth to you? We Uzumaki care for our family. Even if you were a burden on our clan as such, take this check and disappear from my sight. At least you will be able to repay the time and money you wasted from my clan. Those words replayed in his head as he looked at her. He took a deep breath as he spoke. Good evening ladies, and how may I help you? Naruto's arrival caused others to look at him. Most if not all the females blushed as they looked at him. He was wearing gym shorts and slippers with black tight-fitting tank top that accentuated his muscles and abs. To them he was like a wet dream, with his wild unkempt long hair falling to his shoulder, his face chiseled with sweat drops and those cerulean eyes they could lose themselves. Kushina composed herself as she began speaking. Sochi, I. Before she could speak anything, Naruto stopped her from speaking by raising his hand as he spoke. First of all, please do not call myself Kushina. I am not your son. If you wish to speak to me, refer me as Naruto-san. Naruto finished his speech while emphasizing the word san. Kushina will call you as Sochi as much as she wants to. If you have any problem, I will reacquaint your face with my fist. A blonde woman spoke from the side with a snarl. Naruto's brow twitched as he almost let out a snarl. I hate this drunken bitch. I remember her very well. A drunk hypocrite who loves whining about her misery and pity partying, blaming others and punching people for no reason. I never understood what Jiraiya saw in her. All I saw was a vain hypocrite of mongrel, blaming me for my mom's death, while she herself ran away during my birth. Why? Because she had 50 Ryo dead. For fucking 50 Ryo she ran away, then she came back and accused me, that filthy coward. Not only that, when after Kyuubi attack she came back, took everything that belonged to me left behind by my parents and spent them to cover her debts. If only I knew beforehand, I would have fucking rip out her. Calm down, this is not her. That woman was her past life. Although the current her looks like as if built from the same mold. Naruto calmly replied back to her with a smile, if she cannot even comply with that, then the door is that way. As he spoke he pointed towards the exit. Tsunade stood up in anger. Why you? Only to be stopped by Kushina. Tsunade, enough. As Tsunade retook her seat, Kushina spoke. I humbly apologize for the outburst, Naruto-san. Naruto gave a small nod as he spoke. Apology accepted. So how may I help you? Kushina winced at the cold tone of Naruto as she spoke. What have you been doing all this time? Naruto shrugged as he spoke. Nothing much, moving here and there, trying to learn new things here and there. Only for a scoff to be heard as one of their escorts spoke. Really seems like a waste of time for anyone wanting to teach, a waste of space like you. I do not know who you Lu. Only for her voice to choke as Naruto raised his finger and shushed. The woman, no matter how she tried, she could not speak anymore, while inwardly cackling as he had effectively pulled off a scene from his favorite show with the help of the script surrounding his home. He placed a small illusion on the woman, making sure that she subconsciously forgets how to speak. Naruto gave a small smile as he spoke. Mama, I almost failed to recognize you. How is the scar I gave you? The last time I saw you were shaking like a newborn calf lying on your own filth. Kushina. Since when? Since when have you been this strong? Naruto quirked his eyebrow at that as he spoke with a smirk. I was born strong. Although it might sound cool, but Naruto knew very well no being is born strong unless your name is Hercules. Even that is stretching, as gods are irrational and abnormal beings by human standards, so are their children. Tsunade growled at that, ready pounce at him, but was interrupted by Kushina. Then why did you not tell us anything? If you had told us, then the entire fiasco would have been avoided. Naruto did not know what came over him, but he almost fell from his chair because of laughter. He laughed so hard at that it had become difficult to breathe as his belly ached hard at that. As he wiped the tears from his eyes, he spoke to his dumbfounded audience. Sorry. I am extremely sorry. Your question was so funny that I could not help but laugh at that. But really, Kushina, before I answer, can you tell me about your clan's belief, the one that you always harped? It separated you all from others and made you the #1 clan. Please, Kushina. Kushina replied back to him in a confused manner. Well, family above all. Why? Naruto gave her a look of disbelief as he spoke. Really, and you are asking why I have not told you I was strong? Really, just wow. But since it seems you have yet to understand what I meant by that, well, if family is above all, then why do the members of its family have to be strong in order to stay? A family should always look after its members irrespective of their strength or status. But more importantly, were you not my mother? Then why should I have to tell you anything? Should you not be able to notice something? But more importantly, why are you asking all this? Kushina did not know what to say anymore. As such, she stammered out. I want to bring you back home. Naruto sighed as he messaged his forehead in irritation. Home is where you loved ones are, where your heart lies, and as such I cannot comprehend where you are planning to take me. Tsunade. What is there to understand, brat? Your mother came all this way to take you back home and you are questioning her motive. Just make up with her, you spoiled brat. Naruto's patience was wearing thin as he took a deep breath as he spoke. So Kushina, let me ask you this. Let us say for argument's sake that I was really weak like you though me to be, then would you have done the same thing? I hope you will have the decency not to lie. Urza did not say anything during the entire conversation, as she kept her head down, while Kushina spoke with a hint of shame. No, I would not. By Naruto, you have to understand. Naruto interrupted her speech as he spoke. Understand what? That your clan is a bloody hypocrite and liar, that they cannot openly claim that they at the end of the day only care about power and money. At least others are different, as they openly claim what they desire unlike you. Tsunade stood up in anger, a vein pulsating on her forehead as she roared at him. What part of that she is asking you to go back home did you not understand? Personally, I think your selfishness caused the entire fiasco. If only you had come clean from the beginning. Naruto glared at her as he gritted his teeth as he spoke rather heatedly. Senju Tsunade, which part of what I just said did you not understand? Or has all the booze you inhaled finally rotted your brain away? As soon as he spoke that, Tsunade rolled her sleeves ready to punch him, only to stop as a sound of clapping came to everyone's ears as a feminine voice spoke with mirth in her voice. My, it seems someone has been released from prison, but her behavior is still lacking. As everyone looked towards the speaker, Naruto's eyes widened as a big smile appeared on his face. He moved at an incredibly fast pace as he hugged her tightly as he greeted her in a wavering tone. Oba-chan, I missed you. The woman in question looked like an older version of Urza returned the hug with equal favor as she spoke. I missed you too, Naru-chan. Let me take a close look at you, Naru-chan. She studied Naruto for a few seconds as she spoke with a small smile. My. It seems like someone is no longer a pipsqueak anymore. Naruto blushed at her praise, before she spoke with a frown. Naruto, why is there so many scars on your body? Naruto gave a nervous smile as he spoke. Well, I got hurt when sparring, and there is nothing to worry about, it is already fading. The woman stared at him for a few seconds without any hint of emotions. Once again Naruto found himself as if he had regressed into a small child and his Oba-chan had caught him doing pranks. With a groan Naruto spoke. Okay fine, I will tell you later on, away from prying eyes. The woman nodded happily as Urza spoke for the first time, her voice cracking with grief. Okawa-sama. With that she dashed towards her only to stop as staff appeared on the woman's hand which she pointed towards Urza as she spoke. Urza Uzumaki. I have already shivered all ties with you upon your request, so stop this nonsense. I am not your mother. Kushina. Enough, Irene, she is your daughter, how could you act like that? Irene gave a bored look towards her as she spoke. Enough, hypocrite. And what daughter? The daughter who would listen to a filth than her own flesh and blood. That daughter, and why? Urza, I do not understand why you are making a scene. I granted you your wish, you wanted to sever any ties with me. I have done as you have asked me. So stop whining, act like a grown, arrogant and prideful woman as your stature. After all, we are unworthy to breathe in the same air as you, right? Urza recoiled at that as Naruto spoke. Enough. I have entertained you all for long. You came here stating business regarding hero faction, but all you did was waste my precious time. As such, I request you to leave. Tsunade. Leave. I will leave whenever I want to, and if required I will pound your bones to dust before dragging you back. She cracked her knuckles as she took a step towards Naruto, only to find her immobile completely as Irene stood with her left hand outstretched towards her. Irene shook her head as she spoke. TCH, still the same trigger-happy, hot-tempered Tsunade, still the same. Did the days you spent inside the prison for sending a couple of security officers to hospital because they simply wanted to stop a robber? She then snapped her finger as Tsunade's youthful appearance changed at an old woman as she spoke. This suits you well, you vain old hag. Naruto cracked a grin as he spoke. Oba-chan, please release the spell and let them leave. Kushina gritted her teeth in frustration. She and her husband knew that the getting Naruto back into their family would be difficult, but they never thought that Irene Uzumaki no Irene Belsirian would decide to pop in during their conversation like this. She gritted her teeth in anger. TCH. Damn, my older sister, now if any progression I managed to make will be gone because of her. She sighed at seeing another of her failures, her older sister, no, her ex-older sister, standing in front of her. As such, Kushina gave a small bow as she spoke, deciding to retreat for now. Thank you for granting us an audience. Let us leave. With that the group left with a red puffy-eyed Urza tagging along with them, along with an unmuted clansman and a trigger-happy blonde drunk. Irene sighed as she watched them leave. But before she could speak anything, Naruto stopped her as he made way to the chair where they were sitting as he pointed to a particular place on the underside of the hand rest. As he sent his mana, an intricate rune appeared. Oi, piece of filth, who is trying to eavesdrop on me? I will say this only once, next time I will hunt you down, and when I find you I will skin you alive. The rune fizzled as with a loud pop it was gone. In a certain dark room a person was listening using a rune. As the message came he gritted his teeth as he heard Naruto's message, but before he could say anything the rune he was using to listening went off with a bang. A scream tire through his throat as the left side of his face was burned along with a destroyed eardrum, causing him to faint. Irene whistled lowly as she spoke. My, Such an audacity, as expected of the devil's pet, the hero tribe. Naruto nodded as he spoke. So true, the hero tribe was created to safeguard the interest of the humanity as a whole, but the current one has already forgotten and forsook their vow. They have become a pet dog for the devil faction, doing all their dirty work for them. Hypocrite, the lots of them. Just look what they did to Basara and Uncle Jin. Irene nodded as she spoke. Now they are parading a man named Cao Cao as the new face and model hero of theirs. Naruto shook his head as he spoke. Cao Cao is a real piece of work. He is not loyal. He is extremely ambitious, to the point will sacrifice anything and everything for his goal, and I would love to watch when he stabs the so-called hero tribe in the back with a bowl of popcorn. Irene grinned as she spoke. Me too, Naruto, and make sure to share some of your popcorn with me as well. Before her smile was replaced with a scowl as she spoke. Now tell me about all this scars on you. Naruto. Well, long story short, I happened to get acquainted with the Hindu Trinity, very people to hang out with. I even met their wives. Especially Lord Shiva's wife Parvati. She is an incredible nice woman. Well, she kind of adopted me as their son. Naruto scratched his cheeks as he blushed, drawing snickers from Irene. Irene Belsirian, or as she was once known as Irene Uzumaki. Her relationship was a bit complicated with Naruto. Although she was the closest thing to mother figure during his younger years, over the years she changed to one of his closest friend and confidant. Pandora loves him like a mother, but Naruto rarely sees her, and as for Parvati, she is the first woman in both the past and present life who has taken a more active role as his mother, though he feels a bit awkward calling someone who looks younger than him as a father, much to Lord Shiva's chagrin. Irene simply gave him a hug as she spoke. I am so happy for you. Naruto gave a small smile as he spoke. Well, we were doing some mother-son bonding, and then one thing led to another. And you know, one of mother's avatar is Durga, the general of Pa's army. Well, we went for a spar. I was whining against the goddess of war when she changed into another of her avatar, the goddess of apocalypse, in Death Kali. Well, we were evenly matched when she suddenly shifted to her Samhara Kali form. Naruto shivered as he remembered that form. Not many things scare him, but that day still gives him nightmare. I lost to her. She was so scary. I do not wish to face that form of hers any time within the next few centuries if possible. Irene listened to his tale with her eyes wide open as she spoke. So the scar you gained from that time. Naruto nodded as he spoke. Yup, and even with my healing it is still slow. Not that I mind, scars are cool. Irene had serious look in her face as she spoke. So how strong are you currently, Naruto? Naruto gave her a small mischievous smile as he replied to her, causing Irene's eyes to widen at that as she whistled lowly at what she heard. Naruto. Enough of that, Oba-chan. Why is your draconic smell so strong? Irene pouted as she spoke. What did I tell you to call me when I am alone, Naru-kun? Naruto gave a sheepish smile as he spoke. Sorry, Irene-chan. Irene nodded in approval at that as she spoke. That is more like it. Well, you knew that my sacred gear, Nightmare of 1000 Nights, used to hold Azidahaka's soul. When Urza was young, my husband and I were attacked by our enemies. We were winning against them, but a sneak attack got my husband killed and injured me severely. I knew if I died there my child would soon follow. As such, I struck a deal with Azidahaka. In exchange for my heart I would get a powerful boost in strength. I won that day. A few years later, the very same child for whom I forsook my humanity betrayed me and wanted to cut ties with me. I was not in perfect mental state during those days, and with Aziz's constant whispering it made worse. And one day during when my mood was at its lowest, he tried to take over me, but unfortunately for him he only managed to draw all my anger and wrath. The end result was that the sacred gear was destroyed and his soul got sent to whatever afterlife an evil dragon goes to, and as for me, I got all his strength and knowledge. That was also the day when my body began to change into that of a dragon. And now I have become one completely. She finished with a smug grin as she watched with a small smidge of happiness in her heart the familiar spark of curious and wonder in her nephew's eyes, just like when he was younger. Naruto spoke in an excited tone. So Irene-chan, how strong are you? Irene gave a coy smile as she spoke. I am the 6th Dragon King. Well, Queen to be exact, and I share my position along with Tiamat, the strongest amongst the Dragon Kings. Naruto whistled lowly before his eyes widened with alarm. But Tiamat is highly competitive. She will not tolerate sharing her position with you. Irene. Well, fought a lot before coming to an understanding, and now we have come to an understanding, and now I am her sworn younger sister. But more importantly, why did you not tell me you knew her? Naruto. Well, the topic never came. But before anyone could say anything, Sela appeared as she spoke. Naruto, you have a meeting scheduled with Lord Azazel within an hour. I have you bath ready already. Naruto groaned as he spoke. Why did it have to be today? Irene. Well then I believe it is time for me to leave. Naruto. You are leaving, but where will you go? Irene shrugged as she spoke. Well, I will check in a hotel room. Naruto spoke with a frown. Absolutely not. You will be staying here, Irene-chan. Irene protested against it as she spoke. There is no need for that, Naruto-kun. Naruto. Irene-chan, my mansion has enough place for 100 people, yet I will be staying here alone with a couple of maids, so Irene-chan, please stay here. He finished speaking as he used the cursed forbidden puppy dog eye no jutsu. Irene's brow twitched as she spoke. Fine, I will stay here. But Naruto, please never again use that thing again. You are grown up and it looks gross. Naruto chuckled at that as he stood. Well then I will be off to take my bath. After all, it would not look good if I go for a meeting while stinking like a pig. Irene. Why are you meeting the Governor General? Naruto. Well, you know I ended up being an overseer of this town courtesy of Shinto faction. And it so happens a couple of crows are lurking around causing problems. I will be meeting with the Governor General to persuade him to withdraw his people and pay for the damage they caused. Will you like to accompany me? Irene shrugged as she spoke. Well, I have nothing better to do, so why not? But how are you going to persuade him? Naruto gave a small smile as he spoke. Well, I will have a pleasant chat with him, but if all fails my fist will chat with his face, and it has yet to fail me. Irene laughed at that as Naruto left to get himself cleaned. As Naruto took a dip inside the bathtub, he felt a familiar tug as he closed his eyes. He found himself standing inside a well-furnished room. A pair of pale hands hugged him from behind as he felt a pair of soft mounds on his back. Naruto stayed in that position for a few seconds with his eyes closed as he spoke. Haim, how have you been? The person spoke with a melodious tone. I am fine, dear Otto of mine. Her soft breath trickling his ears, sending shivers down his spine, as she placed a small kiss on his cheeks. Naruto bent his right hand, catching her by her waist before pulling her in his embrace. His pale eyes looked at him with loving look as her Rinne Sharingan made her look even more exotic. Naruto smiled at her before kissing her cheek as he nuzzled at the nook of her neck, eyes closed, inhaling her heavenly scent which always managed to calm him down. Why did you not go all out against your mother? If we worked together we would have won. Naruto. I know, but she wanted to see my strength, not ours. But my love, you know our souls are bounded with each other for eternity. What is your belongs to me and what is mine belongs to yours forever and ever, no matter how many reincarnations you take. Naruto gave a soft smile as he spoke. I know, but as far as those who have managed to detect you knows that you are a simple sacred gear sealed inside me. Nothing more, nothing less, and I would like to keep it that way for as long as possible. After all, I do not like all my cards exposed even before the game began. But then you will have to explain to everyone about us. Naruto. I will love, but it'd be awkward to say that you were my many times grandmother in my previous life, who wanted to erase all life on my planet. And we tried to kill each other before you fell by my hands. And then I gained something known as Karma Seal, which somehow banded our souls together for all eternity, while transforming her into the new Jubi. Am I right, Gran? Ow, sorry. He is, the woman bid him playfully. As the woman huffed and turned her head, Naruto placed a series of kisses on her neck before placing a small lick on her cheeks, eliciting a moan from her as her cheeks blushed before he captured her lips in a heated, passionate makeout. The duo released after some time, letting a trail of saliva between them, as the woman spoke with a blush on her cheeks. Well, I believe it is time for you to leave. Naruto gave a small smile as he spoke. See you soon, my Kagaya. Soon Naruto disappeared from her mindscape as he opened his eyes in real life, letting out a sigh as he whispered to himself. Damn, now I need a cold shower, before getting ready to meet that pervert. A red-haired person in a Dormoy Vanquish 2 blazer stepped out of a portal that appeared in the alleyway. Accompanying him was a woman in stunning purple dress, accompanying it with matching jewelry and lipstick. As the portal closed behind them, the woman spoke with a smile. Wait a second, Naru-kun. No witnesses. She then turned towards a homeless man looking at them with wide, fearful eyes, a purple glow on her fingers. Later, the person simply lost his consciousness as Naruto offered his hand to her as he spoke. Shall we leave, Irene-chan? The duo, with their arms interlocked, moved to a nightclub named the Sinful Blues, in the midst of the city of Tokyo, as a long queue stood outside waiting for their time. As the bouncer stood there checking the list, controlling crowd and throwing those who needed to be thrown. Naruto approached him and showed him a card. The man nodded, but as Naruto was about to enter with Irene, he was stopped. The person who gave a lecherous smirk towards Irene as he spoke in a gruff voice, "Only one of you allowed." The next few minutes was probably the worst day of his life. He saw himself being impaled to death, saw himself being torn apart, he saw himself being fed to dog. He was almost driven to intensity, only for his jaws to be held so hard that it almost cracked, as he was forced to look into Naruto's red-slitted eyes as he spoke. "I hope I just misheard. Were you not saying, 'Welcome madam and sir'?" The man shook like a leaf as he nodded, only for Naruto increased the pressure in his hand as he spoke. "Sorry, but I did not hear what said. Could you repeat it again?" The man somehow managed to choke out, "Welcome madam and sheer." Naruto released the man as he gave an innocent smile to the man as he spoke. "Now that wasn't too hard, right? And I am sorry for the misunderstanding." As the duo made their way into the club, the people waiting outside in the queue, some of them gawked while others whistled in appreciation. The bouncer was already on his knees, suddenly felt something warm and wet at his bottom as he thought with slight disgust and lots of fear as a terrible smell came from him. "I so need to change my pants and get as far away from Japan as possible." Inside the club, the duo were greeted with loud music blaring as men and women danced on the dance floor, as a couple of girls wearing skimpy clothes danced inside a glass tube. Naruto and Irene made their way to the bartender, but before he could speak, Naruto showed him a card, to which he nodded as he pressed a button behind his stand, and within less than a minute a girl appeared, her clothes hugging her curves as she walked towards them. Her sensual way of moving drew eyes of both gender as Naruto could feel the hormone peak around him. The girl, who looked barely out of her teens with her exotic blue hair, bowed towards them. As her twins threatened to spill out of her clothes, he could hear the sharp intake of breath of all the patrons near him. As she purposely had bent a little too much, and with her outfit which showed her long shapely legs as her sacred place seemed to be just hidden by her black-colored dress. The woman had an innocent smile on her face which seemed to make her look even more dazzlingly wire as she spoke in a rather sensuous tone which contrasted deeply with her innocent smile and look on her face. "Greetings madam and sir. Please follow me, boss is waiting for you." With that she started moving, rolling her hips in a manner teasing others, eliciting drool in many. Naruto could feel the heart of many beating like war drum. He gave a small chuckle as he whispered low enough for only Irene to hear, "Fallen are such a tease." Irene giggled at that as he spoke, "So true, but did she catch your eye, Naruto-kun?" Naruto snorted as he spoke, "As if she isn't my type." But before they could speak anything, the duo were escorted to a room where two men were waiting for them. As they entered, the duo stood up and greeted Naruto and his companion with a handshake. Although the black-haired person with blonde highlights kissed Irene on her knuckles as he spoke. "I did not know that such a charming woman like you are the representative of Shinto." Irene giggled at that as she spoke, "I am sorry to disappoint you, but I am simply a companion of the representative." Naruto then stepped forwards as he spoke, "Greetings Governor General, it is my pleasure to make your acquaintance. My name is Naruto Schweinorg. I have arrived here not only on behalf of Shinto Pantheon, as well as the current overseer of Kuo Town as appointed by Her Holiness Lady Amaterasu." Azazel as well as his companion had a slight surprised look on their face as he spoke. "Well, the pleasure is mine, but if I remember that the town belonged to the devil faction." As he spoke he gestured them to take a seat with his right hand. Naruto spoke with a small smile on his face. "Well, actually it is a common misconception. The town never belonged to the devil side. They had merely leased the town from the Shinto faction under various stipulations, which unfortunately for them they broke because of their incompetence. As such, the town is once again under Shinto rule, though the devils are allowed to stay provided they obey some rules here and there." Azazel nodded before seeing the curious stare of Naruto, instantly introduced to his white-haired and purple-eyed companion, to which Naruto nodded as Azazel spoke. "So may I inquire, why have you wanted this meeting?" Naruto sighed as he took some photographs and laid them on the table as he spoke. "I hope you recognize them." Shemazai, the companion of Azazel, spoke with a serious look on his face. "Of course we know them. After all, they are all members of our faction." Naruto nodded as he spoke. "Well then, may I inquire what they are doing in Kuo Town?" Azazel sighed as he spoke. "We detected the presence of a powerful sacred gear. Send them to keep an eye on him, and if possible try to recruit him." "Why, something happened?" Naruto. "Is the target of your observation named Issei Hyodo?" Quote. Azazel bit his lips as he spoke. "Well, yes, amongst a couple of others as well." Naruto closed his eyes for a brief moment as he spoke. I see. Well then I did like to inform you that the black-haired one already killed Issei, and now he has been reincarnated as a devil under the Gremory Heiress, and has awakened his sacred gear otherwise known as the boosted gear. Both Azazel and Shemazai looked thunderstruck at that as Azazel spoke. Believe me when I say this, I never ordered them to kill anyone. Naruto nodded at that as Kagaya confirmed the truth as he kept speaking. Normally a death of a single person might be overlooked, but unfortunately your subordinates did not stop at that as they were the cause of death of 189 people. Looting and destruction of properties of near 500,000 yen. Then this man in fedora went even further. He broke into houses of various people, used magic to hypnotize at least 10 women of various ages and made them do extremely degraded perverse acts and created pornographic film which he is selling around, amongst other things. Both Azazel and Shemazai did not know what to say. They know that many of their members were a bit unhinged, but the more they heard about it the more they felt a fear crept in their heart. The Shinto were already involved and had even managed to draw the attention and ire of Amaterasu Omikami, one of the top 10 strongest being in this universe, not to mention if they did something foolish they might have to face her in battle, which they wanted to avoid at all cost. Azazel took a deep breath as he spoke. So what do you want? Naruto smiled at that as he spoke. Well, fix the mess created by your subordinates as humanely as possible, before we have to take the matter in our own hands, and we will according to the wishes of Our Lady irrespective of the outcome. Azazel nodded at that. The message was clear, deal with them or be dealt with, as he spoke in a grave tone. Do they devil faction know about our subordinates? Naruto. Well, actually they as well as the hero tribe knew but did nothing, thereby losing the control of the town amongst many things. Azazel. I see. This was what Azazel was most afraid of. He had told them to keep themselves most discreet during their reconnaissance. But now the devil faction already knew, and given how the shaky truce was being held amongst the three faction, it took just a nudge and the entire three-way war would restart. Before anyone could say anything, a message on his latest phone drew Naruto's attention as he spoke. Oh my, seems like you have a very bad luck, Governor General of Grigori. Your subordinate picked a fight with the Gremory group, the current Lucifer's beloved sister's peerage. Both Azazel and Shemazai turned deathly pale at that. The worst case scenario was happening. Shemazai stood up as he spoke, urgency evident in his voice. We will have to go there immediately before something irreversible happens. Naruto sighed at that as he spoke. Sorry, but I cannot allow you to do that. Shemazai snarled at that as he spoke. Oh, and who is going to stop me? He flared his aura, trying to intimidate Naruto, only to be hit by an aura many times stronger than his as well as a terrifying killing intent. Naruto. 2 Cadre-level fallen angels being there would cause the situation even further, something I cannot allow. Do not worry, they will be dealt with. Azazel had a pleading look on his face as he spoke. Naruto, I know that this is too much to ask, but if possible I wish them to be captured instead of them getting killed. I promise you I will give them the most severe punishment. I know they are obedient subordinates. To do something like that smells fishy to me. As such I ask you spare them, as I wish to interrogate them, and in return I, Azazel, Governor General of Grigori, will personally owe you a favor, and as for your demands I accept them. Naruto nodded at that as he spoke. Very well, I accept your proposition, though they might be a bit rough, especially the fedora one. Well then, see you. Oh, before I forget, next time please come knocking through the front door instead of sneaking in through the back. With that a portal opened as both Irene and Naruto stepped in and disappeared. Azazel sighed as he ran his finger through his hair as he spoke to Shemazai. A figure like him cannot stay hidden like that. When we return back to our headquarters, run a search for him there. A powerful being like that cannot pop out of thin air. Rias Gremory had her plan laid out carefully. As such, she might have conveniently forgotten to mention anything about her pawn coming in contact with the cabal of fallen angels. Not to mention an excommunicated nun with an interesting sacred gear. She knew even if Issei was a massive pervert which dwarfed his intelligence most of the time, he had already beginning to put 2 and 2 from the meeting and had beginning to realize that Rias might have let him to die before resurrecting him. As such, he was already showing defiance. As such, she laid out her plan carefully, making Issei aware that his action might cause a war to break out. People would want his head, yet she would not allow him because he was her family. She risked a war to save his only friend even at the cost of her life. War? The mere thought of it caused her to snort in amusement. An excommunicated nun. The only faction amongst them that would give a damn about her are the exorcist, who would need a new practice dummy. And as for the fallen, well, she will claim self-defense, cry out how incompetent the new overseer is, then the Shinto faction would be humiliated and forced to return her territory back to her. Maybe she could use this to her advantage, then sway a few more devils and maybe manage to break off her marriage with Riser. Her tarnished image from the earlier fiasco would be cleansed, and one day she would have more powerful members, and with them he would crush Riser and be free. Yup, she was proud of her. As such, she gave a mental pat on her back. Everything was going according to her plans. She had asked help from Menma of the hero tribe just to peek at her babies. He was ready to charge at the fallen angels without thinking of the consequences while he dealt with the fallen trio. Issei charged into the base along with Kaneko and Kiba. She knew the current Issei does not have the strength nor wits to take on the Rainier woman, whom she is not wrong is about to become a four-winged fallen. Oh well, she would sweep and save the day while he would be filled in despair, gain a new member as well as a loyal dragon. Oh my, I cannot allow do that. A melodious feminine voice came to their ears. As an incredibly beautiful-looking red-haired woman came out of a portal, her hand a weird-looking staff. Menma snarled at the woman as he spoke, "What do you want? You filthy whore, get out, this is hero tribe and devil faction business." Irene's eyes narrowed at that as spoke, "Menma-chan, I know you from the time you used to poop in your diapers. To use that kind of language towards me. Seems like your parents forgot to teach you manners." With that she snapped her fingers as multiple chains rode from the ground as both the fallen angels and Menma got tied up, including their mouth. But then something happened which caused a chill down their spine as they suddenly felt paralyzed, unable to do anything. Irene gave them a small smile. A smile that sent chill down their spine as she spoke, looking towards a fedora-wearing middle-aged man. "Now how did Naruto told me to do that?" She tapped her chin in deep thought before her eyes widened as she spoke again. "Oh yes, I remember now. First slow down your perception of time. Then increase your pain tolerance by 100 times. Then slowly burn it to charcoal. Then pluck it and feed it to you." As she raised her hand, multiple magic circles had appeared as suddenly the middle-aged looking fallen angel let out a muffled scream, as his crotch started to burn. Soon he began whimpering as tears started streaming from his eyes, when all of a sudden his almost turned to ash male reproductive part was torn off as the binding at his mouth was opened and the entire thing was shoved inside his mouth as the binding once again closed his mouth tightly. Rias gulped at seeing the barbaric display while Akeno simply blushed heavily as she panted from the sight while her underwear got a bit wet. As Irene glanced at Menma, he shook with fear after seeing the fallen angel's fate. Then he almost fainted when his pants were pulled down as the nightly cold air caressed his exposed bottoms. A giant fly swatter appeared as it hit his butt cheeks hard as Akeno let out a moan at that. Rias finally gathered her courage as she spoke, "Who are you? And what are you doing in my town? Since when did it become your town, Gremory? Last I checked the town was under Shinto jurisdiction with me as its overseer." Naruto stepped out of a similar portal, with a woman on his hogtied on his shoulder. Her face, well for the better term, looked like a giant bruise. As Issei followed by an unknown blonde girl appeared with Kiba and Kaneko bringing the rear. Naruto gave a small smile as he spoke, "I see you have finished on your side, so how goes the treatment?" Irene gave a coy smile as she spoke, "Exceptionally well. I think it is time to deliver them." Naruto nodded as another portal opened, where all the fallen angel group were promptly thrown into. As the portal closed behind them, Naruto turned to the Gremory group. His eyes had turned cold like chips of ice. A large amount of killing intent engulfed Rias and her peerage except Issei, completely immobilizing her. She felt as if the icy hand of death itself squeezing her neck as Naruto spoke, "Tell me, Gremory, after the stunt you pull, why should I not kick you out of Kuo with your entire circus troupe?" Naruto looked at the Gremory group and a certain hero wannabe minus Issei and Asia with a glare. The duo had retired for the night, with Asia seeking shelter in Issei's house. It was not that Naruto did not offer her a place to stay at his mansion, but she preferred to stay at her first friend's house. Also, the fact that he turned everyone helping Rainier into mincemeat in a blink of an eye did not do earn him any points. As such, he allowed her to stay with Issei, but not before warning Issei that he would be castrated if he does something inappropriate to her. Although Naruto knew that if Issei was even an iota of what Jiraiya was, he would do no such thing. After all, the super pervert, bless his pervy soul, might have peeped on females but despised rapist with his very being. The group in question squirmed a little as their respective guardians arrived one by one. Sears's Lucifer had a furious expression on his face. The maid accompanying him was the very definition of emotionlessness, while the hero tribe representative, well, Naruto did not know why, but he had the sudden urge to stomp that bastard's face. Maybe because he is Mizuki, someone whom no one cares or remembers except when someone needs to crack a joke to lighten the party. As the Crimson Satan arrived, Naruto stood up from his sit as he shook his hands as he spoke. "I'm sorry to call you here in such an unsightly hour, but as you see, some stuff happened." Searsex nodded at that as he spoke with a grimace. "No problem. I came as soon as I heard about it, but before we begin I would like to apologize on behalf of my clan as well as Rias's older brother for the problem she had caused." Rias suddenly spoke in anger. "Brother, there is no need to apologize, and I was Sim." Searsex glared at her, causing her to shrink back. As he spoke, "Rias, shut up. I do not care why you did such a thing. I am an incredibly busy person, Rias. I have to take care my job as a Lucifer as well as help father on your behalf, completing your duty as a clan heiress, which you are unable to do because you are too young. I have so much work that my queen and I did not have time to sleep since last week, and now your shenanigans are already increasing my workload even more. Stop acting like a child." Rias had tears on her eyes as Searsex turned to Naruto as he spoke. "Naruto, rest assured I will personally take time from my work and discipline her." Mizuki spoke for the first time in a rather haughty tone. "Lucifer, instead of reprimanding your sister, I think we should question the overseer himself. After all, it was under his watch something like that happened. As such, he should resign from his position immediately and Amaterasu should hand over to us." Both Naruto and Searsex looked at him as if he grew a second hand, as both of them and Grafia had a similar thought in their mind. Which idiot got drunk enough to send this idiot during a negotiation? Even Menma, who was present there, did a double take at him. Naruto gave him his bored look as he spoke. "Then I apologize for taking 28 hours and 49 minutes to clean your mess, which you lot could not complete in the last 6 months. Mizuki growled at that as he spoke. "I do not care, get that woman here and now, otherwise we would declare war on you all." Menma was now sweating bullets. "This idiot, if I get out of here alive, I am going to find whoever sent him here and use him or her as my training dummy." Naruto had a tick mark appeared on his forehead as he spoke, anger evident in his voice. "You, the weakest being in the entire city, dare to raise your voice and make demand of me? Grovel before me?" Everyone felt as if an invisible force. No, it was as if an order given by God himself, as Mizuki was slammed on ground so hard that his nose as well as a couple of his teeth broke, as he bowed to him in an reverent fashion. As they looked at the scene, both Searsex, Grafia as well as Irene, who was sitting near the back of the room looking at them as if they were characters from soap operas, straightened up. As they looked at Naruto curiously. "What was that? Think, it felt as if something or someone was trying to make me bow to him. He is dangerous." While the group involved in the fiasco felt a shiver ran down their spine as a small moan was heard from amongst them. Menma wilted and turned pale when Naruto glanced towards him. The memory of that single-eyed beast was still fresh in his mind, as well as the presence of demonic lady who present there looking towards him. As such, he bowed repeatedly, almost kowtowing before Naruto as he spoke. "I am really sorry for acting out of line. I realized my mistake. Please forgive me, and as my actions are mine alone and does not represent my clan as well as the hero tribe. And please do not mind this idiot's words. We hero tribe only want peace, nothing more. Please forgive me." He almost cried out at the end, from fear as well as pain. As he bowed, his pants move and the fabric rubbing against his sore red skin hurt a lot. He doubted he could sit for weeks after such vicious spanking. Naruto glared at the heroes as he spoke. "Menma Uzumaki Senju." Menma went ramrod at that as he squeaked out a hi, while Naruto continued speaking. "Next time tell your tribe or clan or whoever is in charge of you to come here personally to meet me as soon as possible, preferably within the next 12 hours. Instead of sending a nincompoop like him, and also remember to tell them that war has broken up for far less, and before thinking about declaring war against Shinto pantheon against me, they should get ready to lose everything they have loved and held there, because they will not only face the wrath of the entirety of Shinto pantheon but also every other supernatural factions and beings we are allied to, capiche?" Menma nodded furiously at that as Naruto pointed towards the door as he spoke. "Now take that filth and get lost." Menma never ran so fast in his life as Irene stifled a laugh. Naruto then gave an innocent smile worthy of an archangel as he motioned Lucifer to take a seat while he took the one at the opposite, while Irene stood up and then sat beside Naruto, while Grafia, the maid wife, stood beside her master husband. "Well, it is not my place to worry about someone else's fetishes," was the thought of a certain whiskered red head. Sears X turned towards Irene as he spoke. Excuse me, but I believe I do not recognize her at all. Naruto. Ah, forgive me for not introducing her before. She is Irene Belserian. You may recognize her moniker as Crimson Tide or Witch of Crimson Rain. She is my assistant. Irene raised her eyebrow as she spoke. I do not recall agreeing to be your assistant, Naruto-kun. Naruto shrugged at that as he spoke. Well, last I recalled you have nothing to do as well as you are bored, right? So why don't you help me out? Who knows, you might find something enjoyable. Irene had a small staring contest with Naruto before she relented as she spoke with a sigh. Okay, fine. I am your assistant from now on. Naruto gave a small clap as he spoke with a small smile. Congratulations, Oba-chan. As they turned towards Lucifer, Sears X spoke with a frown. Forgive, but were you not declared dead by the hero tribe? And last I checked, your full name was Irene Uzumaki. Irene smiled at him as she spoke. Well, the elders of Hero Tribe tend to declare someone dead and have them killed when they refuse to cater to their ambitions, and as for the Uzumaki, sorry, neither me nor my nephew wishes to be related to those hypocrites. Sears X nodded at that as he spoke. Well, now about the matter at hand, what is your verdict on their actions? Naruto replied back at that with a shrug. Well, you know the terms of the negotiation, as such you should already know that I am about to tell them to pack their stuff and leave. Rias screamed with tears in her voice. No, please, no, I will not leave here. If words get out, I will be forced to marry him. I do not want to. I will kill myself before that. Sears X spoke in a stern tone. Be silent, Rias. I know as a big brother, even if I do not wish to condemn you to such a fate, my hands are tied as the Lucifer. You know you cannot avoid such a cruel fate. I am such a failure as a leader. His eyes moistened at that, before he took a deep breath as he spoke. Sorry about that. I showed you something so unbecoming of myself and my race. My race is known for being greedy, and the latest victim of greed is my baby sister. In order to create a new variant of bloodline, the elders of our society are forcing her to marry the biggest womanizing scum of an asshole to ever grace my kind. Even I cannot help her because I am the Lucifer. I should be neutral. I should think of the greater good. He finished with a sad chuckle. Sears X continued after a brief silence as he spoke. Well then, this is it. I understand that the rules are important and it is well within your rights. What is the worst could happen except my sister and the female members of her peerage be turned to slaves for him and his cronies, and one day she would take her life out of grief. I would become sad and I would take my life then. But I assure you this is not your fault, but you are just doing your job. My poor son would be an orphan because my wife would soon follow. With my death the devil faction would be weakened considerably, and seeing that vultures would sweep in and my kind would soon perish, but even then I promise you I will not blame you, and I hope that my brethrens would be as much understanding as I am and would not curse you and your future progeny too much. But do not worry, it is not your fault but my baby sister's fate. You know how painfully it would be to bury my baby sister, the same sister whom I know since her birth, my Ria-tan. As he finished, large drops of water fell from his eyes as tears. Rias gave an anguished cry as she dashed towards Sears X, hugging him tightly as she cried, Oni-samama, no, please do not die. She cried as if her brother was about to take his last breath. Akano followed after her as she kneeled in front of Naruto as she spoke. Please, everything is my fault. I was the one who forced Rias to act like this. I was the one who is the reason for Rias breaking the law. Please punish me in her stead. I am willing to be your slave for the rest of my life. I will obey your whim and muses. Rias then turned and engulfed Akano in a big hug as she cried her eyes out. No, Akano, don't do such a thing. I as your king the first am the guilty one. You should not blame yourself anymore, my sister and all by blood. Do not worry, whatever fate it will be my own. Before that I will release you all so that you do not have to suffer such fate. Akano screamed at the top of her lungs, Bucko. As the other two members ran towards them and hugged each other with tears in their eyes. Soon after, Lucifer himself jumped into the group hug. Naruto's brow twitched madly at that, as did Graphia's, the only exception being Irene, who had a Chinese fan covering her face and her shoulders were shaking. Naruto could guess that woman beside him was relishing the sight, and the only thing she lacked was a bowl of popcorn. He sighed at the display as he thought, damn me and my bleeding heart. He cleared his throat loudly, bringing their attention towards him as he spoke. I have decided to give you a last chance, Rias Gremory. No sooner did he said that the group stood up with a smile on their face as if nothing had happened, but then a loud thump was heard as Naruto watched a half-mashed onion lying behind Kaneko, which she kicked away fast, but not fast enough for Naruto to not notice it. Naruto then continued with a threatening tone towards them. But remember this, if take my kindness for granted I will literally kick you to underworld before you could even utter the word, devil. But most importantly, did you understand your folly, Gremory? Rias nodded as she spoke. I should have informed you before doing something like this. But I thought I could have helped you by taking care of your workload. Naruto. Well, your concern for me is noted, Gremory, although do you understand what might have happened if killed those crows? Akano replied back on her behalf. I doubt anything could happen as this territory is on lease by the devil faction and they are merely trespassers. Naruto chuckled at that as he sent a small smile towards Akano, making her blush as he spoke. My dear schoolmates, this world is not black-white. The fallen angel faction would simply deny their involvement in this matter. At that the younger devils looked confused as Kiba spoke. How could they deny their involvement when they were caught in our territory? Naruto tilted his head as he rested his cheeks on the palm of his right hand, which was resting on the arm of the sofa which he was seating on, as he spoke nonchalantly. What proof do you have that you caught them here and that you did not kidnap them from some place far away, and simply brought here to execute them? Kaneko. Their crimes. Naruto gave a small smile at her as he spoke, which could be fabricated by the devil faction. Rias. Surely you are exaggerating, surely something like that would not happen. Sirsex sighed as he spoke. No, Rias. Naruto is right in this matter. After all, similar tactics are still in use, sister. Always remember that the world is not as black and white and every action has an opposite reaction. Naruto nodded at that as he spoke. It is for that reason that unlike that stray devil I did not kill those crows. I was in a meeting with Azazel negotiating with him, and one of their terms was that the group of crows to be delivered alive in exchange for various favorable things for my faction, which unfortunately I cannot disclose to you all, but I assure you is completely unrelated with you all. Irene. Rias Gremory, always remember that unfortunately you are in such a position where unlike others you cannot make a mistake. This thing on your part was one such thing that could have cost you and your entire race dearly. As such, next time please think carefully before you do anything. She then turned towards Naruto as she spoke. Naru-kun, it is past midnight and I am famished, so shall we leave? Naruto nodded at that as he stood up alongside with Irene as he spoke. We'll see you all today in class then. With that the duo left the room, leaving behind the devils along with a particular rune hidden so as to spy on them. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Naruto let out a tired sigh as he spoke to Irene. Devils are indeed scary. Irene spoke curiously at that. Why did you say so, Naru-kun? Naruto. Well, Irene-chan, can you show me any other faction whose leader can throw away their pride at a moment's notice, just like Sirsex Lucifer? Irene frowned hard as she spoke while shaking her head negatively. No, I cannot think about any other leader. But why do you call them scary? Naruto gave a coy smile as he spoke. Pretty simple. Most if not all supernatural factions believe that at that end of the day the devil faction are extremely prideful, and as such it is their major weakness, but they also end forgetting that at the end of the day a devil is a manipulator. No matter how prideful a devil may appear to be, he or she will discard them easily at the drop of a hat if it means that it will help them reach their goal. Such is their race, who only knows how to win regardless of consequences. Tsukuyomi stared at his sake cup with an unreadable look on his face. He watched as the liquid forming a swirl inside his cup as he shook it. Amaterasu and Susanoo, who were speaking amongst themselves, stopped as they glanced at their brother, as Amaterasu spoke with a frown. Brother, is something wrong? Tsukuyomi did not pay any heed to her as he kept on staring at his cup. Susanoo smirked as he sent electric current towards him, causing him to jump up as he was shocked by it. Tsukuyomi turned and glared at Susanoo, who was whistling innocently at that as Amaterasu spoke quickly in order to prevent a fight from breaking out between her brothers. Brother, what is troubling you? Tsukuyomi sighed as he spoke. I was thinking about the loyalties of our resident Campione. Susanoo snorted at that as he spoke. Well, you should know very well that we had already decided to approach him as a family member of his. And he values his family greatly, as such he will not betray us, so relax. Amaterasu nodded at that as he spoke. Yes, brother, he was already a good friend of Goddess Benton, and after we approached him we managed to form a familiar bond with him, and if you are thinking about the Hindu pantheon, then well, yes, he had managed to form a familial bond, especially with Lady Parvati and Lord Shiva, who are like his adopted parents, but we are on neutral grounds with that pantheon. Tsukuyomi snorted as he spoke. I am not talking about them, but the one with whom Naruto's true allegiance lies. Every person whenever they die enter into a cycle of reincarnation. They are judged and punished or rewards according to how they led their life, but more importantly their memories of their previous life is erased completely without fail. Such should have been the case with Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, but not only he remembers everything but he actually managed to retain his chakra system, not the normal one but the one which he had gained before the end of his life. He had already partly gained divinity by then, but still, even if all the circumstance involved, he should never have gained all those things until and unless a divine intervention occurs, and we all know that it is something only someone of our caliber can pull off, but with great difficulty. Both Amaterasu and Susanoo frowned at that. Their brother may be paranoid most of the time, but with time they have learned that if it were not for their brother's paranoia they would have perished a long time ago. As such, Susanoo spoke with a frown. Do you have any clue about that person's identity? Tsukuyomi frowned as he spoke. Although I have not found any clue to that person's identity, but from the evidence I have gathered I have seen him suddenly moving from one place to another, as if he knew there would be some crisis, and because of his intervention it was true that countless life has been saved, but at the end, each opponent was stronger than the last. It was as if someone was sharpening him, and I do not like that even a bit. Amaterasu. What about that troll, Naruto's teacher, the very same person whose surname he uses, what about him? Tsukuyomi sighed as he spoke. No, not him. Susanoo and I have hung around Naruto, and more often than not we have discussed about various things, including the various jobs he had done for the kaleidoscope, but there are few incidents which I have inquired of him, and according to him, he was taking a stroll when he came across a troublesome situation just like that. Once or twice is all right, but when one keeps stumbling on situations like that, it warrants caution. Susanoo. Well, what about the Mage Association? His teacher is associated with, what was its name again? Clock Tower. No, Clock Tower. Yes, Clock Tower. Both Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi looked at him as if he was an idiot as Tsukuyomi spoke with a sigh. The so-called queen of the association, Bartholomei Lorelei. The vice director. Well, the day she orders Naruto is the day she dies as well. It is true that there was time when Naruto was affiliated with them, but you should know about the battle he had with the Clock Tower in Spain when the vice director herself came after his head. It was only because of the intervention of the director that she escaped with losing just her left hand and more than half of her forces. Susanoo nodded at that as he spoke. Yeah, I remember that battle. It seems my old age is catching up to me. Hell, I practically had a front row seat to the fight. I even had a bowl of popcorn. Flashback 1 year ago. Naruto was making his way through a certain hallway at the Clock Tower, when he overheard something that made him stop as he spoke in an irritated tone. What do you mean you failed the assignment? An assignment that was originally belonged to him, but the so-called queen in her infinite wisdom, took it and gave it to a so-called noble from her faction, by the name of Renaud El Meloi Archibald. The current head of the El Meloi faction snarled in disgust as he spoke. Scram, peasant, I do not want to waste my day looking at your dirty face. Naruto's brow twitched at that. It was one of the reason he hated Clock Tower was because of these over-pompous fools. It was true that amongst the noble faction of Clock Tower there were some really nice people, some talented people, including his predecessor Kenneth El Meloi, who may not be all that nice of a person, but he had the talent to back it up. Unfortunately, after his death, Renaud is now the head of the family, the most untalented, boorish, good-for-nothing idiotic troublemaker he had the misfortune of coming across. A leech and a coward of the highest caliber. Naruto was worried when he learned that this incompetent, overly pompous buffoon was in charge of the assignment that was given to him only to be snatched away from his hands and given to the esteemed member of the noble faction. Renaud took out a riding crop as he tried to hit him, only for him to scream in pain as his wrist was broken by Naruto. Then an incomprehensible amount of killing intent descended on him as Naruto lifted him up by his collar as he spoke. How did you fail? Naruto's killing intent vanished as he let go of Renaud, who fell on his back. Seeing Naruto motionless, he garnered some courage as he spoke. You peasant, how dare you touch me? The queen will have you executed for your crimes for hurting a noble. Naruto. Noble? What noble? In fact, a cowardly mutt who caused a town to get killed because of his greed. And now you dare to threaten me. I know a suitable punishment for worms like you. The riding crop in his hand glowed before it descended at ruthless speed as it struck Renaud. His screams caused various members of the Clock Tower to gather around. As they watched Renaud getting thrashed by Naruto, many winced as they watched as Naruto used fire and lighting in order to hurt him. They watched him getting burned to third degree, well, all except his face. Naruto just threw him to the side as he spoke, "You trash who not only got someone else's assignment through bribery, you who helped the being you were assigned to kill, you who caused death of an entire population of town just for some trinkets you received from your target. This is your fate, you trash, from henceforth you will crawl on the ground like a worm you are." With that, Naruto left via a portal. As he went to kill the stray devil that was causing havoc, it took him a few hours to track. When he arrived, he saw the stray devil feasting on a corpse of an 1-year-old. He saw red and had spent a few days brutally torturing with every ideas that Kagaya supplied it to him, and only when the stray devil had its mind completely broken was he allowed to die. Naruto sighed as he went to the nearby city, but not before making a beeline towards the town that was slaughtered by the stray devil. While it was more a village than a town located in the remote area under the foothills of the mountain, the local story circulating around was that massive deforestation caused the mountain to collapse and burying its residents, but Naruto knew the truth as such. After a quick short prayer he left. Nice, the flavor is really good," Naruto thought as he sipped from his cup of coffee which he had just bought from a shop. He would love to enjoy it a bit more, but unfortunately that was not the case as he let out a tired sigh as he spoke. "So what are doing her, queen?" Barthomloi Lorelei. Naruto Schwinorg, for the crime of killing a noble of Clock Tower you are hereby sentenced to death. Naruto gave her a bored look as he spoke. "Well, Queenie, last month a 10-year-old was raped and killed by the so-called noble of the Magus Society, so what did you do?" Barthomloi snorted as she spoke, "An innocent man being framed, so I." Naruto nodded as he spoke, "So you kneeled in front of him and gave him fellatio." Bartholomew snarled in anger as she spoke, "How dare you, uncouth!" Slap. A loud was heard as a red handprint appeared on her face as many people surrounded them as one of them spoke, "How dare you slap her highness!" Naruto did not pay any attention to her as he spoke. What was the scumbag's name? Ah yes, Shinji Matu. He and his cronies filmed it and posted on the internet. But Maguses are superior than today's technology, as such the evidence was moot, wasn't it? And who were the witness of his innocence? Ah yes, his cohorts. So after seeing that farce of a justice I realized something very important, that you are nothing but an attack dog of the so-called Nobel faction. You are nothing but their biggest bitch. As such you are called Queen, short for Queen Bitch. Oh, and before we begin let me confess I was the one who sent them 6 feet under, as well as the one who erased their entire family. Barthomloi shook in anger as she spoke, "How dare you speak to me like that? How dare you insult me? I, the vice director of the clock tower, attack him." Different types of magical attack flew towards him, causing a gigantic explosion, which shook the ground in the immediate vicinity as one of them snorted as he spoke, "That is what happens when you make enemy out of your betters." Another spoke with a slight fear in her voice, "I hope the kaleidoscope does not react too harshly to it." Bartholomew snorted as she spoke, "Let him try, no criminal shall be above law. If Zelrech tries something I will personally execute him. Let's move, I have stuff to do back home." Stuffs like what service those decrepit mongrels known as Nobel who should be put to death. The sound of the voice stopped them on their tracks as they turned their eyes widen upon seeing Naruto looking at a broken cup with regret on his face. "Damn you people. Have you no class? How could you destroy a person's coffee cup, and it was so tasty?" Bartholomew's eyes narrowed as another volley of attack landed on Naruto, who simply yawned at that as a stray shot of magic bullet hit him. The scene caused their eyes to widen as the attack did nothing except wrinkle his clothes. Bartholomew did not like unknowns. She loathed them, and everything about Naruto was unknown. As such she did not trust him at all, and it proved to be true when he murdered a noble of Cloak Tower, one of the most prominent contributor to the society, as a mage killed due to petty jealousy. She despised those new magus always trying to besmirch a noble's honor due to petty jealousy, and this Naruto fellow just killed two most talented mages. She will surely make an example out of him in order to rein in the other rule breakers and criminal wannabes. Bartholomew gritted her teeth as she spoke in anger. "I will make you pay for killing someone of petty jealousy, Naruto, and I will make sure to make an example out of you. All of you. He has to have some relic hidden which is shielding him from magical damage. Engage him in close combat now." She sighed. Normally she wanted to make an example of her herself, but the various Magus family had sent their strongest members along with her in order to avenge their honor being tarnished by a young upstart. Naruto shook his head as he spoke, "I pity you fools." The first person to arrive was someone who had a spear in his hand. Naruto sidestepped as he caught his spear before he punched his chest hard enough to cave it. before he twirled the spear in his hand as a group of 6 descended on him trying to kill him, only for them to turn into meat chunks under Naruto's spear attacks. Naruto then gave a mock bow as he spoke, "Now your hoariness shall we dance." A few minutes later, all the people accompanying were dead in the most gruesome manner possible. The only one alive was Bartholomew. She was not doing, her eyes were filled with fear, as her left hand was clearly missing from the elbow, as shirtless Naruto lifted her by holding her throat as he spoke, "Congratulations, you managed to destroy my shirt. As a reward I would give you a quick death." Before he could kill her, a person intervened as he spoke, "That is enough, Naruto, I still have some uses for her." Naruto turned towards the newcomer as he greeted him with a smile on his face, "Uncle Mephisto, how have you been?" Mephistopheles smiled as he spoke, "I am fine, but seems you have once again." Naruto dropped Bartholomew as he spoke with a shrug, "What can I say, those so-called blue blood from Clock Tower send their attack dog after me." Mephistopheles shook his head in exasperation as Bartholomew spoke in a hoarse voice, "How dare you, deaf?" Only to be slapped hard by Mephistopheles, who spoke with an irritated tone, "I made you the vice director of Clock Tower, because I saw potential in you, but clearly I was mistaken. You have been reduced to nothing but the pawns by some foolish mongrels." That was the day that Naruto cut all ties with Clock Tower. Amaterasu nodded at that as she spoke, "Yes, Naruto always hated people who abused their power which they received because of their pedigree, especially if those people are unworthy of it." Susanoo nodded before he spoke with a frown, "Hey sister, do you think Naruto can use Gudadama, truth-seeking balls?" At that both Tsukuyomi and Amaterasu froze, as Tsukuyomi spoke in a rather unsure tone, "I do not know, but since he can use many of his abilities from his previous life, so there is a chance that he might be able to." Amaterasu frowned as she spoke, "Well then the threat level will have to be upped regarding him. If he is able to use then I doubt anyone underneath the Hindu Trinity or myself will able to fight him. Even then it will be a Pyrrhic victory." Meanwhile, back at the clan compound, Menma sat in a kneeling position as his parents and the clan elders were present around him, as well as his twin, as Kushina spoke with a frown, "Menma, why did you ask for a meeting?" Menma spoke rather nervously at that. "Well, Rias asked for my help regarding some fallen angel issues and I helped her. After getting permission from Hero Tribe Elder Homura Midokado, I went to help her, but it seems that Naruto was already working on it along with Aunt Irene. But our interference with his work had angered him, especially the devils. As such, he called for representatives from our factions. Well, since you two were away on business, Elder Homura sent one of his subordinates named Mizuki to represent us all." Minato let out a tired sigh as he spoke, "So what kind of punishment are you getting?" as others in the room frowned. But before he could speak, Naruko intervened as she spoke, "Menma, by Mizuki do you mean that panty thief Mizuki?" To which Menma nodded as Naruko scowled, "I still do not know why that idiot is still not rotting in prison is beyond me." One of the elders spoke curiously at that. "Naruko, why did you call him panty thief?" Naruko sighed as she spoke, 3 months ago he was caught stealing female underwear from a shopping mall." Menma gave a nervous laugh as he spoke, "Well, about that, while Lord Searsex was speaking with Naruto, he did something extremely stupid." At that everyone present had a bad feeling as Kushina spoke, "So, what did he do?" Menma. "Well, he interrupted their talk and declared war on all supernatural factions on behalf of the Hero Tribe." At that the hall descended into pin-drop silence before it descended into chaos. Menma internally smirked during the entire time. Mizuki may not have said the exact words, but a little twist here and there would do wonders. After all, at the end of the day, the Mizuki fellow was an asshole who insulted him on their way to the meeting in every degrading way possible. Minato. "Everyone be silent," now Menma continued. Menma. Well, Naruto got angry at him, as such he ordered him to grovel before him. At that one of the elders spoke curiously at that as he spoke, "Grovel? I hope a fight did not break out there." Menma shook his head as he spoke, "I do not know what happened, but it looked as if someone slammed his head hard, and by hard I mean his nose as well as a few of his teeth were broken, and not only that, but when he ordered even my knees shook." At that once again murmurs broke into the hall as Menma spoke, "Well, Naruto wants to speak with someone responsible this time." As the other broke into discussion, Menma spoke after a brief trepidation, "Mom, there is something I want to ask you." Kushina raised one of her brows as she spoke, "What is it that you wish to know, Menma?" Menma. "Naruto, what is he?" At that both of his parents were confused, as did many others, As one of those nameless elders who no one pays any attention to spoke, "What do you mean by that, Menma?" Menma spoke with a hint of fear in his voice. "Well, I challenged Naruto to a duel along with Sasuke, but he defeated us soundless and I got mad at that, as such I attacked him from behind." Menma's voice chalked as he shook with fear, causing many to look at him worriedly as he began speaking. "I do not know what happened, but he turned to look at me and I found myself inside a large emote space with water dripping around, but that was not the worst. Naruto was looking at me like I was a bug. But what made it worse was the figure behind him." Naruto frowned at that. She had found his brother in a near catatonic state after the duel. He had yet to let it pass his lips about the incident that much as such she desperately wanted to know. Who was the figure? Menma. It was a gigantic figure as big as mountain. It had a single rippled red eye. It glanced at me. I never felt so much fear, and the killing intent it gave out nearly stopped my heart, and then I heard Naruto calming it down. The beast had a name. I believe it was Kagaya. At that the listeners frowned. The more they heard about him, the more confused they became as more and more questions started to sprout in their head. Naruto ranged the bell to a house as he heard a muffled feminine voice from inside, coming. He did not have to wait too long as a middle-aged woman with strong resemblance to Issei opened the door. Miki Hyodo and her husband Goru Hyodo were taken aback when Issei brought home a girl, a foreigner to boot. At first they were wary of her as they thought that Issei might have finally snapped and got himself a hooker, but when they spoke with her they learned how the poor girl was here all alone without anyone to support. As such they allowed her to stay with, and so far they do not regret the decision. To them it was like they have gained a daughter, much to Asia's embarrassment as being an orphan she had never received such attention before. Miki stared at the red-haired young man before her. He was wearing Kuo high school uniform. He had pleasant smile on his whiskered face. It made herself self-conscious. She suddenly felt as if he's standing in front of some kind of a king or some foreign dignitary. The young man in front of him suddenly spoke. "Excuse me ma'am, but is this Issei Hyodo's house?" The woman nodded as she let out a kind smile as she spoke. "Yes, it is, but who might you be?" "Naruto." "I apologize, how rude of me not to introduce myself first. My name is Naruto Schweinorg. I am Issei's schoolmate as I have recently transferred to his school from Germany. He has been helping me out." The woman nodded as she invited Naruto inside her house, guiding to their living space where she was promptly joined by her husband Goru Hyodo, who shook hands with him before taking a seat. Both the parents of Issei were pleasantly surprised at the politeness showed by him as well as his etiquette. To them it felt as if they had a king as their guest. "Goru. So Mr. Schweinorg, why Japan?" "Naruto. Please Mr. Hyodo, please call me Naruto. Mr. Schweinorg is my uncle's name." "Goru. Well then you have to call me uncle as well." Naruto nodded as he spoke. "Well uncle, I am fascinated with Japanese culture as well as some of my friends are of Japanese origin, as such I decided to complete my high school from here." "Miki. How did you meet our son?" As she spoke she slightly narrowed her eyes towards Naruto. After all, her son was a well-known boob-obsessed pervert whose friends are perverts of the same caliber. As such she could help but think of Naruto as such. Naruto meanwhile did not know why but had the sudden urge to use Issei as a training dummy. He gave a small smile as he spoke. "Well, Issei was kind enough to offer me help around the school until I am well versed with surroundings." Naruto's sweat dropped as the couple in front of him suddenly jumped in joy as they muttered how Issei was becoming responsible, how he would no longer be a pervert. Before their conversation could proceed further, both Issei and Asia arrived at the scene and was surprised to see Naruto sitting on the sofa waiting for them. As they approached him, Naruto spoke with a smile. "Good morning Asia, Issei." Before either of them could speak, the world around them turned gray except for themselves and Naruto, making them scared as Naruto spoke. "Calm down you two, this is just an illusion. I used to speak with both of you without anyone eavesdropping." At that the duo calmed down somewhat but was still wary of him as Naruto spoke. "So Asia, mind telling me how you ended up being excommunicated?" Quote. At that Asia began her tale of how she was looked up as a saint and one day she was excommunicated because she healed a devil. And from that day the very people who adored her turned their back on her and stated cursing her. Naruto let out a sigh as he spoke. "So what if you were given a chance to redo the entire thing, will you do it again?" Asia spoke with a kind smile on her face. "Well, I know my words will further anger God and I will damn myself even more in his eyes, but still will heal anyone regardless of who they are." With that she prayed to God as Issei winced in pain. Naruto suddenly laughed out loud, getting bewildered stares from the other two. As he controlled himself, he spoke with a smile. Asia, you are like a breath of fresh air in this rotten and corrupt world. Never let your heart be tarnished. If only there were more people like you, this world would have been a more joyous. Issei nodded at that wholeheartedly as Asia had tears in her eyes from the praise as Naruto continued speaking. Asia, where exactly did you used to stay in Italy? As Asia replied to Naruto, his eyes widened as he spoke. You used to stay there then? When did you encounter the said devil? Were you going somewhere? Asia shook her head negatively as she spoke. No, I was tending to the garden as the injured devil approached me asking for help. Naruto. How did the others know that you healed the devil? Asia spoke in a rather somber tone at that question. Well, there were guards who were posted to protect the church. They spotted me healing him and forced him to flee. Soon after, all the town people gathered around the church vying for my blood, calling me witch. She choked a sob at that as Issei hugged her. She wiped out a tear as she spoke. Father Miguel was kind enough to help me out. He gave a plane ticket and helped get here, where he told his contact will help me. Naruto balled his fist in anger as he realized the truth. It was complete setup. They defamed and excom. No, sold her to the fallen angel group. Naruto gave a small smile as he spoke. So Asia, would you like to go to the same school as Issei? Asia's eyes widened at that as she spoke. Will you do that for me? Naruto. Of course I would. Why wouldn't I? You will get to learn new things, make new friends. Do not worry about it. Even Issei looked happy at that as he spoke. That would be awesome. I will show her around school, help her to gain new friends. Asia blushed at that as she nodded. Later that day, Naruto let out a sigh as the class ended for the day. As he was about to leave, he was stopped by Urza. Schweinorg, a moment please. As all the students left the room, a barrier suddenly sprung, enveloping the entire room. Naruto looked at that curiously as he hopped on top of the nearest desk, using it as a seat as he spoke. What do you want, Urza? Urza fidgeted a bit as she spoke. Naruto, can you help me mend my relationship with my mother? Naruto had a confused look on his face as he spoke. What do you mean by that? And more importantly, who is your mother? Urza growled as she spoke. Naruto, stop fooling around. You should know I am talking about my mother, Irene Uzumaki. Naruto. I am sorry to say that, Miss Urza Uzumaki, but the only Irene I know of, her name is Irene Belsirian. Urza sighed as he spoke. Please Naruto, I beg of you. Please help me reunite with my mother Irene. Naruto sighed as he spoke. What has happened between you two is no concern of mine. Whatever she wants is up to her. I cannot dictate what she should or should not do. Urza spoke. No, literally begged Naruto. Please, but you speak with her, right? So you can at least say something on behalf of me to her, please. Naruto shook his head as he spoke. You are delusional. What part of I do not control her actions did you not understand? If this all you have to speak, then I am leaving. Urza. Naruto, until and unless you agree to help me, I will not allow you to leave. This barrier was spec. Whatever she was about to say was interrupted as the barrier she had erected shattered like a piece of glass as Naruto spoke. A weakling like you only exist to serve the strong, isn't that what you told me, Urza? Then why you a weakling trying to defy the mandate of the strong? And as for the barrier, please, you can stop for as long as I allow you to. With that, he stepped out of the classroom as he was greeted by two familiar faces, causing his eyes to widen as he spoke. Angelica, Artoria, what are you two doing here? Both Angelica and Artoria had a small smile as Artoria spoke. Ange and I are your teachers from today onwards. Ange will teach you English, whereas I will take care of Jim. Naruto nodded as a thought struck to him with full force of a freight train. This duo hates pervert to the core. I better do something or Issei and his group might die. Naruto. So where will you be staying? Angelica. Well, we are searching for some place to stay. In fact, Lucretia is also here and currently she is house hunting. Naruto. Well, tell her to stop it then. You are welcome to stay at my place. Artoria. Are you sure, Naruto? Naruto. Of course, why not, although I will tell you that I have a couple of maids as well as my aunt staying with me. Angelica shrugged as they started walking to Naruto's mansion. As he had arrived at school along with Issei, he did not bring any vehicle. As they were a good few distance away from school, Lucretia joined them. Over all the years, she hadn't lost even an iota of their charm as she made her way to Naruto, hugging him. Some of the students of Kuo, mostly the males, muttered various curses at Naruto, who promptly did pay attention to him as he had to fend himself off a very touchy Lucretia as the other two growled at her. Before anyone could speak anything, a voice drew Naruto's attention, a voice he knew all too well. As Naruto slowly turned his head at the speaker, a red-headed woman of 20s stood there. Wearing a red glasses. Behind them was a set of purple eyes looking towards him with nothing but love. Karen Uzumaki. Amongst all his family members, she was the one closest to him, one he cared about the most, more than anyone, but the one who betrayed him the worst, the one who he will never forgive, one who he will kill with a smile on his face. Years of combat training and sharpened instincts. Did they manage to react? Chains of Enkidu wrapped around him as Artoria changed into her armor, hugging from behind, whereas Lucretia uses one of her spells, Shroud Darkness. In order to hide the entire incident. It would not look good if the entire supernatural world gets exposed overnight because someone got angry. Kaguya was sleeping peacefully when she was rudely awake, as if someone had flung her from her bed. She was stunned for a moment before she felt Naruto pulling on her reserves as if his life depended on it, not to mention the amount of hate and anger she felt. She quickly used all her power to calm down Naruto as she whispered sweet nothingness in his ears. While outside, Karen had already curled up in a ball as tears sprung from her eyes. If those chains did not stop him, she would be dead, and from the looks of it, the chains were barely holding as they groaned and screeched as Naruto tried to break free. Angelica's eyes widened as she watched her chains almost breaking. One of her top-tier weapons against a divine was failing her. Lucretia did not wait as hugged Naruto. As she kissed his lips, his cheeks, trying to calm him down. Naruto, calm down. Please, you will hurt innocents. Please calm down, there are children in her. As she spoke, she winced, her hands were burning because of Naruto's energy. Naruto snapped out of his rage-induced state as he looked at shock towards his friends, especially Lucretia, whose hands had been badly burned. Naruto apologized with a worried tone. Lucretia, are you alright? Should I hurt your hand so badly? I am so sorry. Lucretia spoke with a pained smile on her face. Naruto, I am fine, but who is this woman? She spoke towards the cowering woman. Even if Naruto's attack did not touch him, the force of his charge flung her hard enough to injure her. Her glasses cracked under the assault as blood dripped from her mouth. She shivered under Naruto's hateful gaze as Naruto spoke in cold tone that made her want to crawl up in a hole and die. Karen, fucking, Uzumaki. Someone who would slit the throat of her own child with a smile as long as she gets her daily doses of cum. Nothing more than a filthy whore. Naruto spoke with a snarl. Let's go, girls, we had to get Lucretia treated. As they left, the members of Hero Tribe, Orc, as well as the student council raced towards the area as people screamed about gas pipeline bursting and whatnot, but they knew that was not the case. The explosion of holy energy in that area was staggering. As they reached, all the Uzumakis present, especially Menma and Naruto, gave a startled cry as they raced to help their oldest sister, who was in a catatonic state, as she kept muttering, Naruto, sorry, forgive me, over and over again before she finally lost consciousness. Rias had a smirk on her face as she spoke. It seems that the overseer is not here, we can. Only for her to stop as she received a glare from both Sona and Urza as Urza spoke. Would stop planning and plotting because you such at that. We can only wait for Karen to awaken before knowing what happened. If you charge in with half-cooked plan like that, you will be kicked out surely this time. Rias pouted at that. Meanwhile, back with Naruto and his companions, they stepped inside the mansion, as the occupants of the place arrived hurriedly as Naruto spoke without looking at them. Irene, please heal Lucretia, she got hurt by me, and please excuse me, I need to vent a little. With that, another portal opened as Naruto stepped inside and left abruptly without speaking to others. As he left, Irene promptly went to heal Lucretia, only to stop when Artoria spoke. Excuse me, but do you know who is this? Karen Uzumaki? Irene stopped as her bangs covered her hairs as she spoke with anger in her voice. Where did you hear that name?
That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, share and do comments.